selfish. We're sitting in my car. The silence is so December, the world turns to Doha, Qatar for chess at its fastest and fiercest. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships bring the globe's elite to battle under lightning time controls. December 26th to December 30th, Rapid and Blitz formats designed to reward precision, courage, and creativity. In the heart of the Middle East, Doha offers more than a board, a world-class venue, a cultural backdrop, and a stage worthy of legends. With a €1 million prize fund on the line and the title of world champion at stake. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships, the ultimate test of fast chess.
Welcome to the FIDE Online Chess Museum. The International Chess Federation proudly presents the FIDE Chess Museum, an online space celebrating the rich history and evolution of chess. Explore exhibits that trace the game's fascinating journey. Discover the origins of chess, beginning in the distant past, and follow FIDE's centenary journey. Rare chess sets, unique books and memorabilia, autographs of chess legends, trophies of historical tournaments, and stories of the chess champions. Explore the game's legacy and future. Chess is more than a game. It's a global culture of strategy and unity. Join us to experience this unique online journey where history, culture, and passion for chess converge. And also on your phone.
Goa, India looks like paradise with its golden shores, warm breezes and peaceful mornings. But inside the Chess World Cup arena, it's all tension, nerves and high-stake decisions. The tournament started with over 200 of the world's best chess players. Now only 4 remain in this brutal knockout format. Today is the semifinals. Who will be the 3 players to qualify to the candidates tournament and who will have to miss out? I am your host, International Master Anna Rudolph, and I am joined by world-class commentator, Grandmaster David Howell, and the greatest female chess player of all time, Judith Polgar. Judith, let me start with you. Welcome to the crew. Grandmaster is also in your title, but you have so many more. Like we cannot fit it on the screen, and we are so honored to have you today on the show.
Thanks. I'm so happy with you guys. It's great to be here and follow some great chess.
We are excited. David, you and I covered the show before the free day for the players. How are you feeling now? And what do you think will happen today without going into too much detail?
Ooh, yeah, so many things could happen. I'm predicting that the players are a bit nervous. There's so much on the line now, so much at stake. Maybe they'll be a bit cautious today, but I would be happy to be proved wrong if they show some fire instead.
Let's see what Rakesh thinks. He's on the ground. Our reporter, Rakesh Kulkarni, live all the way from Goa, India. Over to you, Rakesh. Please tell us what's about to happen today.
4 players left, 3 candidate spots, 2 matches to win for 1 World Cup title. Here we have top 4 players remaining in this playing hall. As we can see, we have a stage now for the semi-finals, and the entire playing hall, which was filled with 206 players, is now down to just 4 players. We have seating for the audience, we have VIP seating as well, and of course this beautiful stage. Let's have a look at the stage above, and while we go there, I'll tell you, Arjun Erigaisi was heartbroken as he was eliminated by Wei Yi. In lots of other matches, Sam Shankland also faced a heartbreak, very similar to his 2021 World Cup campaign as well. We'll have a look at some of the pairings today. The most interesting one is, of course, the all-Uzbek clash with Yakubboev versus Sindarov. Remember, one of these players are guaranteed to go through to the final, and of course, the candidates. This is the one. And in the other matchup, we have Wei playing with the white pieces versus Esipenko. Remember, no eliminations today, but we will also have a 3rd place match in case of the losers. Let's see who goes through. We have a beautiful playing hall here, as you can see, all around, lots of flags. But finally, it's all down to the 4 players. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Rakesh, for the breakdown. And oh boy, this has been a long event. We started with over 200 of the best chess players in the world, and now what's left is only 4 men standing in the semifinals. David, when you look at this bracket, let's start with the grandmasters from Uzbekistan facing each other in the semifinals and their path all the way to the semis.
Yeah, it's been so impressive for both of them. All I can think is that they're just so young. They're still so strong already. Yakubboev, he was the one who managed to avoid the tiebreaks in the quarterfinals. He defeated he defeated Alexander Donchenko even. And he's been so impressive. Also taking down Gabriel Sargsyan, also in the classical. He looks bang on form. Probably the biggest success of his career ever since he won the Qatar Masters. And for Sindarov, taking down Jose Martinez, taking down Frederick Svana, the slayer of Gukesh, it's also been super impressive. Only 19 years old, Sindarov. He's a beast already.
Certainly a beast. And what we have on the other side of the bracket, Judith, is also really impressive, with Wei Yi eliminating the top seed remaining in the field and the hope of India, Arjun Erigaisi. How do you see that clash between Andrei Esipenko and Wei Yi?
Well, it's going to be extremely tough, of course. I've seen Wei. He's a very calm player, I must say. Great nerves, of course, for all players, because whoever is in the semis, they are players who went through on a huge journey, emotional journey as well, because it's a knockout event. So it's very clear that you may proceed or knocked out in 2 games, or you go on and play the playoffs. So I don't know. It's going to be really tough game, and it is interesting that I think. I believe the semifinals is going to be less nerve-wracking for the players than the final day or the final matches, because out of the 4 players, 3 players will be qualifying.
That's a great point, Judith. And that means mathematically 75% chance for each of the players in the semifinals to make it to the candidates tournament. But it's going to be so tough for the one person that will miss out. David, how do you see the semifinals and the 3 tickets for the candidates tournament, but one player will not be given that chance?
Yeah, it's going to be heartbreaking, whoever that player is. I think that probably on paper, Wei Yi against Esipenko, even for a player who loses this semi-final, I think they'll have a decent chance at the 3rd place playoff to bank that candidate spot. I think one of the Uzbeks, of course, guaranteed to make it to the candidates. I think the other one might be the underdog. But of course, we don't wish that anyone misses out. And nice to see a fun move there played by our dignitary, Knight C3. I wonder whether that will be the first choice for Wei Yi.
Anybody is on favor on Knight C3 in this group?
I would love to see that Knight C3 pawn to D6 in this semifinal match between Wei Yi and Esipenko. Let's see if they stick to it. They might not want to.
It's an Armageddon game with Knight C3. I think.
Both of them very quick to take back their moves there to put them back on their starting squares.
When you both look at this scene, this is a venue that has hosted over 200 of the world's best chess players, and now we are left with just 2 chess boards, 4 grandmasters. What is that like, Judith? You know how these knockout tournaments are. Oh, we have a handshake already, so I'm going to ask this question in a moment to you as well, David. But you start out with over 200 players, and every 3 days we have seen the field halve in this brutal knockout system. And now the 2 Uzbek grandmasters, they are some of the few that managed to stay standing. What is that even like before we dive into the opening moves, Judith, in this knockout format? How do you see the tournament when it comes to how difficult that is on the players, the nerves, the tension, and the format, the knockout format?
Well, in the big part of my life, I was playing round robin open tournaments, then round robin tournaments, and then only later in the late 90s we started to have knockout events. It has a completely different psychology. In one hand, it's great that if you play badly, you don't have to suffer there and be tortured for a long time. You can go home. At the same time, if you win, you're getting tired because a lot of energy is taken out of you, but it gives also a lot of energy that, okay, you're tired, but you go on, you move on, you have your next chance. And well, I was playing in a World Cup in Hanti-Mansijsk. I was in quarterfinal. That's the furthest I reached, and it is a strange feeling that in the very beginning you have 128 people when I played, and then it was like half every 2-3 days. At the same time, it's getting cozy, and when it's like 8 players, for example, or 16 even, it's like a round robin event kind of feeling. When they go down to 4 players, it's getting smaller and smaller, and you feel, I think, the tension higher and higher.
The tension is certainly higher and higher. David, when it comes to the tension and what's on the board, how do you see the opening choices in these two semifinal matches?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think we'll get a real fight in both games. Between Nodebek, Yakubboev, and Javelka Sindarov, we see this Slav with Queen D3, which is quite ambitious, I think, with white to try and build a big pawn center quickly. And yeah, I saw the French defense. I saw Knight C3. I was getting excited, but the fact that we've seen a capture on E4 early, maybe that's showing that Esipenko would be happy with a more solid position, but where you can press here without too much risk. It's nice to not see any Berlins or Petrovs. We've seen too many Petrovs this tournament, so I can't complain. I think in the openings here.
Yeah, I also believe it can be fun games. By the way, I mean, looking at the game after a few moves, only it seems.
Let's start
But-
diving into the specifics of the opening and also move orders, transposition, who will surprise who. If it comes to this battle between the two Uzbek grandmasters, they know each other so well. They have faced each other very many times, and in fact, Yakubboev has the better head-to-head score. He's leading, I think, with 3 wins, 9 wins for Yakubboev and 6 for Sindarov. But of course, they also have faced each other when they were very young. How do you guys see so far and the opening developments? And David, should we take it from the very beginning, actually, just to get into the game and see how we reach this position?
Sure, we'll do a very quick action replay. We're now at move 7, but it started life as Queen's Gambit declined, and then it kind of transposed at this moment into a semi-Slav. And here white has all sorts of moves. Bishop G5 is kind of the old main line. E3 leads to the Maran, but Queen D3, I guess he hopes to build for E4 very quickly. And yeah, we see a trade of pawns. So basically saying to the queen, you've moved 3 times. I can take advantage of that, gain a bit of time. And I think if black gets A6, C5 in a lot of these positions, he's very happy. But white plays E4 already. Yeah, you mentioned the personal rivalry, Anna. Like, Nodebek is, I think, 4 years older, roughly, than Sindarov. So probably the age has mattered in their head-to-head matches. And I actually think he's the favorite because he's under 2,700. And we all know in the World Cup this year, it's a kind of curse to be over 2,700. There's been a bit of a jinx on the top seeds. So I think he feels that he can do this.
Great point there, David. The 2700 curse has been one of the main storylines of the World Cup, and favorites falling one after the other. The last man standing was Arjun Erigaisi, but he was knocked out in the quarterfinals. So being a favorite hasn't been a good thing at the World Cup. And when it comes to this opening and what you see on the board, Judith, how do you assess so far what has been happening when we look at the time management, when we look at the moves on the board? What story does it tell you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly happy that we see this on the board because it's definitely a sharp system, which I was not playing, by the way, with neither color. But the pawn structure is very interesting of this Slav. And it is not about logical things. It becomes very concrete in many ways. Like B7 bishop can be said that it's biting into its own pawn on C6. At the same time, at one point, black goes C5, and that bishop can be incredibly powerful. Queen on A5 it's typically that's the place where it should be standing. Knight on A4, yeah, this is what we are teaching usually, that you don't put your knight on the rim. At the same time, in this system, you always have the knight on A4 after B4. And so I'm very much looking forward how this game will be unfolded. And it's very nice to see 2 friends playing there. They are both very young. And actually, they're like 20 and 23 or something like that. I think Sindarov is not even 20 years old, only in a month. But they are both Olympic champions, by the way. Few years ago, in 2022, they were both part of the Olympic golden medalist team. So even though they are very young and now they are fighting it out to become one of the candidates players who aims to become a world champion, they have quite significant results themselves. And I think they're extremely ambitious players. I've seen Sindarov in a freestyle event he was playing, and he's there, he's hungry, he's interested, he's curious, he's just, chess is something that what he's breathing day and night, and you can feel that he's just so happy. Giving his interviews also, I see him, yeah, how cool, how great. Of course things are going on his way, but he has this very healthy self-confidence. And well, I haven't seen his opponent playing too much, Yakubboev, but I'm sure they know a lot about each other, not only the things what we are seeing from outside their games. And so it must be very interesting to play for them against each other as they are friends and they grow up together. Because after all, it's we are talking about not winning the World Cup. That's a secondary thing right now. They both want to win. At the same time, whoever is losing, they still have another chance, right? So that is something very interesting. And I don't see any reason why should they not be fighting in the classical game, They will fight it out. I do hope that they will fight it out. But what I found very interesting, that Sindarov, who is great fighter, sharp player, at the same time, if you see most of his wins so far in this event, he won it in an end game. What do you think about that, David? Because I was wondering that, okay, he's sharp, tactical, everything. At the same time, he's just winning these drawish, simple end games, like reminding me a bit of Magnus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. He did the same against Martinez, even in the tiebreaks, like the decisive game there. He had a small positional edge and he was grinding, just sitting on his opponent. Yeah, that's a very good point. Like the stereotype nowadays doesn't exist. Like in the old days, you used to say anyone under the age of, I don't know, 25, or even 21, you just make it quiet against them. They'll get bored, they'll lash out, they'll go crazy, especially these sharp tacticians. But no, he's got different gears. It's very impressive. And yeah, actually they haven't played many games, these two, this tournament. Yakubboev has only played one tiebreak. He's won most of them in the classical. He's the only one who hasn't played an opponent higher rated until now. So I do wonder whether Yakubboev kind of isn't sure how hard to push. We see, wow, C5, we're going to see fireworks, but it's I don't know if it's going to get to that endgame that you mentioned, Judith. It looks very, very sharp already. Probably mainline theory.
Sindarov is usually not avoiding queen exchange. You see, he's just offering queen b5. But that should not happen, right?
Probably not. I don't know. White doesn't feel ready for it. Like black can take the queens off and block. I'm not sure which way. Maybe even bishop c6.
Even.
Isn't
it the only move?
Yeah, knight d7. Yeah, probably bishop c6. The way take and
Sindarov is happy.
Yeah,
I see two games where this queen b5 happened. Both of them continued with the line that you're showing, David. One was won by white and the other with black. So 50-50 so far, the results in this situation. I'm expecting something else, but I did want to ask both of you about your experience, of course, in very high level competitive chess. What is it? What is it with grandmasters? I think I know the answer for myself, but I want everyone to understand too. We saw Yakubboev thinking for over 4 minutes on the pawn push b3. And that's the only move. He has to play that move, but he has spent over 4 minutes on that move. Judith, can you explain why grandmasters do that? You know the move, but you're not playing it. Why?
Well, this is a good question. Why are you thinking on a move which practically you don't really have anything else? At least that's your first impression. But many times when we play classical game, we think that we have plenty of time because that 1.5 hour plus what the players are receiving after every move, 30 seconds, you think that you have plenty of time and you're trying to get in the mood, right? Of the event of this round. You try to feel your opponent. You try to think about it. Obviously, I think he was not thinking about the move b3. He was thinking about the fact that Sindarov will be flashing out c5 without thinking. So he might as well think about before b3 than after c5. And this is something, usually it can bother the players a lot if they feel that the opponent out-prepared them. When I say out-preparing them, it's not about necessarily that having a much better position or whatever, but out-preparing, like being more smart to expect what's going to be happening today's game. And it seems like for the moment that Sindarov is playing very, very fast. Actually, he has clearly more minutes than what he started out this game today. And the boys who are very young, they can be also impatient, and it must be frustrating that my opponent plays faster than me. He knows what he's doing. And no, David, I mean, it's like I should have been prepared better. Why is my opponent is blitzing out the moves?
Exactly. That's the story of my life. Like, even when I think I'm really, really well prepared, even if I get like 10, 15 moves of theory, as soon as my opponent plays something that annoyed me in my preparation or something I haven't seen before, I just sit there like thinking about life, philosophizing. It's like, why didn't I just click the space bar just one more time? Why didn't I just go one move deeper? Why didn't I just, stop watching that Netflix show and actually focus on my preparation? And then you think that could be the difference. And I don't think we should forget, like, Yakubboev's had 2 rest days. He's had 2 days off. And like it's easy to lose a bit of kind of flow, a bit of rhythm when you've had 2 days without playing, especially when you're in such good form. You're impatient to play again. I quite like it, though. I think he's fine to think for 10 or so minutes. He's only been thinking for 4. I remember being told David Bronstein would sit there at the board before even making move 1 and spend 10, 15 minutes trying to get in the zone. And I used to try and copy that. So yeah, it's fine for now. But if he keeps thinking and doesn't know the theory, then we maybe get a bit worried, I reckon, Anna.
What do you think?
I agree.
Sorry.
Of course. No, Judith, please go ahead.
No, that you brought up the topic, David, that Nodirbek was not playing a playoff, so he was having rest days. But do you think with these guys, they are happy to have a rest day? Because I'm not sure in Sindarov's case that he was very unhappy. I mean, when you win, you're young, and Sindarov loves to play fast chess. I think that's the least what I can say, what I've seen with him. So I'm not sure it's an advantage to have a rest day from this perspective for Nodirbek, no?
Yeah, I think when you're on form, like when you feel like you're winning, everything's going right, you just want to keep going, right? Like every time I've been doing well in a tournament and there's a rest day, I always come back and then play terribly afterwards. It takes me a while to get back in the flow. And yeah, maybe it was in my head too much. I kind of jinxed myself, but yeah, I think these guys, they're also young as well. Like Wei Yi's the oldest one by far at 26. So I think they've
very
got
old,
the energy.
very old at 26.
It's ancient at 26, but yeah, they've all got the energy. They all love chess. It's like what you said with Sindarov, Judah. I think they just want to get in there and play. They train every day, right? So why not play every day as well?
Very good point. Yeah, and when we had Jose Martinez in the field, he wasn't enough. Like for him, it wasn't enough to play the World Cup and the tiebreaks. He was also playing on Chess.com entitled Tuesday and every single event when he went back to his hotel room. So that's how much they love chess. That's how much they want to keep playing. And yeah, it's always a question whether the rest day helps or not, especially when it comes to Yakubboev 2 rest days without the tiebreaks. He said he would go shopping with his mom. So it's good to see that they have family support and they have something else to do outside chess too. Otherwise, it can become a lot. It's only chess.
But do you think that they play chess because they love it so much? Or it's at least as much because they have so much tension and pressure that they want to play blitz online, even during the tournament, to just to keep themselves busy and to have fun?
Or
It could
that's
be
good.
the second, I think. David, what's your call? I mean, honestly, or a mix of it, because of course they love chess, but you are right that the tension at a World Cup in a knockout format is even higher. It multiplies the usual competitive chess level tension and how difficult it is. One inaccuracy can knock you out of the event.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point Judith made there. Like, I don't play so much nowadays, but last year I played at the British Championship and I was feeling so nervous after some of the games, and all I would do is play blitz online. I'd be like, okay, just like, it will pass the time, it will pass the hours. I was trying to go for walks, I was trying to read books, but I just couldn't focus. So it was the blitz and the bullet, and just more and more chess. But yeah, it's counterintuitive. It's just a modern way of thinking, the modern temptation with online chess. Maybe we talk about the moves as well, because Nodovek is spending a bit of time and he's looking away.
What a
What do we think?
suggestion, David, to talk about
Body
the
language.
moves.
I was just thinking body
crazy.
language. Is he just making something up here? Is he already on his own, or do you think he's just trying to kind of choose between two moves he's already looked at before?
So what is the two moves what he might have looked at? Is it d5, something that can be considered just to give up the pawn, or now it's not something that it's considerable?
Yeah.
d5, e5, right? This is the question. Queen b5 we discussed before. Because the e4 pawn, if it falls off, that's a huge problem for white.
Yeah.
Though my question is, if I said it, let's say I go d takes c5. I give up the e4. How bad is that?
Probably with the bishop.
Bishop, and after queen b5, you go knight c6, maybe. Because I thought if you go queen b5, bishop c6, then knight d4 might be a powerful move.
Yeah. Though maybe black can just take and put a knight on d5. And
that's a good one. Oh, that's
strong knight.
unpleasant. Yeah, that's a beautiful knight on d5. And then knight c6, blockading. Yeah, this position can be really cool for black.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm looking at
so
the database here, and I see 9 games for this position after c5, and the choices for white, among the moves that you both have already mentioned and analyzed, there also has been e5 in 3 games, knight to e5 in 2 games, including in a game by Vishy Anand. Other than that, knight takes c5, queen b5, and d5. Those 5 options have been played in the database from what I see.
Something to something 5. That's the moral of the story. Something's going to land on the 5th rank.
Something needs to go on the 5th rank. No other moves are legal in this position.
I like knight e5.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting move.
If Vishy plays it, we should think about it. Definitely.
That was the game of Vishy against... Oh, actually, sorry. Vishy had the black pieces. I'm confusing what I saw in the database. Dmitry Andreikin had the white pieces against Vishy Anand in 2013. And after knight e5, Vishy took on d4. And then we saw the queen trade with queen b5 and king to e7 happens there now that the knight is on e5. And black is saying, I don't mind that I can't castle. I don't mind that my bishop is blocked. I'm going to put that bishop on the long diagonal if I need to with g6, bishop g7, and life is great.
Well, it's one way of thinking, right?
Life is scary, but great.
On the other hand, if I look at this king on e7, I don't know. I have a visual problem with that. Having that bishop. If the bishop would be on d6, I would understand everything. Yeah, David. That's the feeling I have with that king. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Knight c5 looks. I don't know. Something looks fishy for black.
Looks fishy for Vishy here.
Vishy,
yeah. It was knight c5, bishop takes e4, bishop b2, and bishop takes g2. That's how that game went.
Wow. 3 pawns up for black.
That.
Alpha Zero would not care about those 3 extra pawns, and we don't care about those extra pawns.
Wow, check this out.
There, no place.
Wait, is this a typo? Bishop c6.
What?
Yeah,
What?
bishop c6, bishop takes, knight takes, and then king d6. Both knights are
Wow.
under attack. That king is so active. It's the hero of the game. But rook c1 guards the c5 knight and then threatens discover checks. What a crazy position.
Wow.
And eventually a draw.
As
Knight
always,
takes.
yeah?
Yeah. Wow. But I mean, this might be relevant because Sindarov's probably aware of the game. I don't know about Yakubboev yet. But wow.
Yeah,
95.
and if you've got the black pieces in a knockout format of mini matches, a draw with black is not a bad result to aim for, and then push with white.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if these youngsters care too much about which piece they are playing with. Black or white.
Different to 20 years ago when it was kind of gospel. You had to just be solid with black. You had to just hold with black, and then you go all in with white.
Yeah,
Good
because
point.
that's
Yeah, and
very
white has been
classical Soviet.
struggling. Mm-hmm.
Soviet school. Make a draw with black. Karpov, that's what he did. Whoever he played a draw with black, or he was not shying away. He didn't care about if it's a draw, even with a much lower rated player. But with white,
Mm-hmm.
played endless.
Okay,
In this format, it's interesting how it's true that the colors didn't matter that much. If anything, in a bunch of the matches, we saw White struggling because of having that extra pressure to prove something, to do something. And when they failed to do so, Black would take advantage of that. So, good point that it might not matter that much. Sindarov is the one who has come better prepared to this game. And I would love to check in with Veyi and Esipenko and see how the opening went there. A French defense. I'm always happy to see the French defense at such a high level. But let's see how good of a French defense this is when it comes to Esipenko, who has just pushed a6. David, if we do a quick action replay on how we got here.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll go back to where it all began with e4, the French. Anna smiling. I can see her on the camera. And knight c3. I don't know if you're smiling about this, Anna, the Rubinstein variation taking on e4.
Oh, I mean, I'm very solid and not brave as a player, but d takes e4, even to me, is a bit too passive.
Mm-hmm. That's not a proper French. A proper French player would play knight f6 or bishop b4 or
Yeah.
allow, try and provoke e5.
This is a very solid approach, to say the least, to capture on e4 and then try to trade on f6.
Yeah, and that does happen. White tends to be a little bit better, or at least fighting for the advantage, because Black's bishop, I guess, on c8, a bit stuck. And bishop d3, there's many moves there. There's g3, c3, c5 now played, bishop e3, queen c7. I think this is all still quite mainline stuff, but if we look at the clock again, it's another case of the player with white maybe being surprised and burning time. 20 minutes down already, Weyi, as probably he's deciding which way he wants to go in the near future. Judith, would you be tempted to castle queenside and just go for it here?
I don't even understand why you're asking me this question. Why don't you say, Judith, do you want to go short castle, play solid, some positional ideas?
Sorry, my bad.
But in the 90s, it was very popular, these lines. I played quite a lot of games against the expert Bareyev. Evgeny was playing all the time, Caro-Kann, and later on he played also the French. And he always went d takes e4 against me. Takes and knight d7, the same setup as Esipenko was going. And it's kind of a tricky, it seems like completely lifeless game. It's very hard to create something, long castle, g4 attack or something. So the only great attacker we have is the d3 bishop, once Black castles short. But it seems like Black prioritized to play c5, queen c7 to make some tension in the center. Well, the thing is that Black very much wants to go b5, supporting the idea of c4. So White has to make a decision to capture on c5 or play c3 to make space for his bishop. But b5, bishop b7, and it can be a very healthy position for Black.
Yeah, and Esipenko keeps surprising his opponents. He's like a moving target. Sometimes he's playing e5, sometimes Sicilian, sometimes French. So I can understand why Wei Yi is burning a bit of time, similar to the other conversation we had. Yakubboev, I think it's just psychological.
What do you think about c4 with white?
Yeah, quite like it. And let's put it on the board. If black takes on d4, which way are you taking back?
The problem might be that you have bishop b4 check, because I was thinking to go bishop takes d4. But you know what? It's not my game. I'm an outsider amateur. So I go bishop d4 and I go king f1.
I knew it.
Maybe I was commentating too much of freestyle. I don't know.
You'll try and castle kingside later.
Sorry?
You'll still try and castle in 10 minutes time when you've forgotten.
David, that's December when we go king from f1 to c1. In November, we go king f1 from e1.
No castle November.
What do you think? If it would be like that. In November, you can't castle in chess store.
I like it. We need new tournaments.
There are so many different tries, right? How to make chess fun in a different way.
And okay, if black castles, how are you gonna
G4. G4. Finally. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm scared.
But maybe I had also c5 kind of ideas to try to
also c5
to make problems to your bishop. Rook c1, b4.
This type of idea, yeah. Oh, wow. What?
What's wrong with b4? It looks like it's winning a piece. What are we blundering here?
What?
Oh, is it queen f4 and the rook on c1 is hanging?
Oh, nice spot, Anna.
So simple, Anna.
Nice.
Too simple. That's why grandmasters miss it. You know, if I get the easy ones, you know, hanging piece, I can cover that theme.
It's because it's the French defense. You just know. You have a feeling. You have this relationship with the French defense.
Yeah,
so
the only opening I have this relationship with.
No, but there is another unprotected piece. So bishop f6, queen e4, double attack.
Maybe.
Nice.
Maybe
I like
now. Maybe b4 now, queen f4, there's rook c4.
Maybe that's
also
better
very
because
strong. Yeah.
Queen e4, f5.
I was a bit scared of this. Just queen trap.
Oh, and the queen gets trapped after queen a7, rook a8. Beautiful. So white would get 2 rooks for the queen, but that rook on h1 is not yet very happy, and it's not easy to connect the rooks with the king on f1.
Mm-hmm. But this time this would work b4, and yeah, luckily Anna revealed the plan, so we know the answer. Okay, this is possible. Maybe if we see c4, like, it could happen.
I see one game in the database for c4, by the way. It wasn't played by titled players, but it happened once in history, so it would not be new. The castle kingside was the most common in this position in 18 games, and castle queenside in 8 games. These were the 2 main moves.
Which way will he castle? Which way will he
It's a
castle?
big decision. It's a very big decision where you put your king. Everything changes depending on the king placement, the middle game strategy, and how much he wants to play for a win, how sharp he wants the position, or does he want to play more positional and solid with castle kingside?
But to be honest, I don't really see very sharp way of playing unless we do not castle and we looked a little bit what we looked before. Even if we go long castle, it doesn't mean it's going to be sharp, really. I mean, after b5, I think white will take on c5, takes. The only thing is that the king on c1 and rook on d1 stays more active in this structure, especially if there is going to be a queen exchange. But the thing is, the reason I think Wei is thinking, first of all, probably he's out of preparation. He was not expecting this position being on the board. And secondly, he knows it exactly that in the next 4-5 moves, if black can develop, black has a great position. So he has to control his plans, which direction he goes. It's not like we are developing our pieces and then we'll see what's going on. A4?
He pushes
H4.
H4. Still 4 games for this move, by the way, in the database. After castling kingside and queenside, this is the third most popular choice of white.
Wow. He did it against Arjun in the classical French. He played a very quick h4. He got a very quick knight g5. He won material. Here it just looks weirder, though, with the center so open. And black hasn't castled. Like, this is... What's the idea after b5?
Yeah.
Well, the idea of h4, I think that you didn't castle yet and don't think about it either.
B5, of course, is a big question here. And Esipenko, it feels like he's still trying to recall his preparation. He has come to the board today very well prepared, and it looks like he's thinking about what he might have still prepared here. I don't think h4 is that big of a surprise to him. Do you guys think that he still has everything under control and even this move has been checked by him and his team?
I think these days you can make any move and nobody will be surprised, really. I mean, this is the kind of move, David, can you believe it that in, let's say, 2002, I mean, if I would play this against you, would not be surprised because I had image making moves, which is not normal. But generally speaking, you would say, not only me, well, other people's would not play it. But if I would play something like this, you would say, okay, very strange person, right? These days, you don't say these things. I mean, we were a little bit surprised, but we are not really surprised. H4 happens every day in all kind of different positions and in tournaments. Knight d5, logical reply. But interesting, so fast.
Very fast. And he's repeating one game that I see in the database that was played in the Dutch Women's Championship. So like shout out to Anne Haast and Maaike Kietman, who played this position before in the Dutch Women's Championship. Esipenko following a game. But there's got to be some improvement. I don't think that even if he's familiar with that game, I don't think it's going to be exactly the same copy. But this idea of h4, h5, it's actually quite interesting. And a lot of times after h5, you would see the rook coming to h4 at an early stage of the game to bring the rook into the game through the 4th rank.
Wow. Is he going to continue then, h5? Or is he finally going to decide to castle? I agree with Judith. Like, I'm still so stuck in the 2000s that I still think h4 is a weird move, but it's
but we don't dare to say it. Only here between the three of us that h4 is a strange move. How could they do something like this? Knight d5, it didn't make any sense to play h4.
Yeah, how does h4 help ever? Like, it's such an open position. You don't have time for luxury goods like that. It's like you're shopping in the most expensive supermarket, but you've got like $5 in your pocket. I don't know. It's a weird one. Like, why? What is h4? I don't understand. Castle?
That's what Wei is considering too, I guess, because he spent so long on going for this move. Knight d5 was a response by Esipenko that was played really quick, and this is already a half an hour time advantage for Esipenko with the black pieces. By the way, if we bring back our 2-board view, it's the story of today's semifinals that black has been the better prepared player. Big time advantage on both boards, both for Sindarov and for Esipenko. Yakubboev and Wei caught somewhat out of their preparation and are trying to come up with the best possible continuation over the board, or at least trying to avoid the opponent's preparation. What do we see, by the way, in the Yakubboev-Sindarov game now with the queen trade on b5 that has happened?
I don't know. It's interesting that Yakubboev decided to go for the endgame. For me, it's interesting.
Yeah, it feels like he wants to play safety first, maybe scared of some prep. But I'm also surprised to see Sindarov thinking, because bishop c6, this was the first variation we talked about in the game. Judith said queens could come off. He's going to block now with his bishop, and black looks very, very comfortable.
So what about bishop c6, takes on c6, knight c6, e5?
Take, e5.
And bishop c6 on the board.
Yeah. So we might be headed here in a second. Which square? Knight d5 does lose a pawn, so it is the dream square though.
Knight e4 may be also possible. What do you think about that? Yeah, knight d7.
Yeah. Yeah, one of these two.
This could be where the game is heading after knight takes c6. The only other games I see in the database after this trade, both games feature d takes c5 as the move for white instead of e5. So e5 would be a novelty already if that's what Yakubboev goes for. And he did. So this is a completely new territory, I believe, unless I'm missing something. D takes c5 was the only two games I've found, and e5 is a new idea.
Okay, I'm going to make a bold prediction that this game doesn't go past the 3-4 hour mark. I think probably it's going to be a draw at some point, which is probably not a bad result for either of them.
I think you might have some insights into the future, David. Maybe it's time to change profession. Yeah, I think the story being Sindarov coming to the game better prepared, catching Yakubboev off guard to some extent, then Yakubboev trying to go for something solid rather than entering complications, and we might see that at the same time. Commentator's curse. We could also be here in a 120 move rook game thanks to you, David. So we can never rule that out.
That's my eternal karma. Like, I've forced arbiters, players, teammates to sit there for 8 hours many, many times. So if that happens to me, I apologize to you two, but I deserve it. At least.
You can stay. Judith and I go and have lunch. With that, though, we're gonna let our players figure it out after e5. For now, in the two semi-final games, it feels like the players with the black pieces have come better prepared. They have time advantage and are in a situation that feels very comfortable. We are going to take a short break, but when we are back, we will break down the rest of the action, the details of these middle games, and remind you again of what's at stake. Only 3 of these players will make it to the candidates tournament. 1 will miss out. Who will be the player that misses out is one of the biggest questions here in the semi-finals. See you soon in a few minutes' time.
We have some ChatGPT questions, which you can read and then, show to the camera.
All right. Thank you. You have been at the top of the chess world for many years. What has kept you motivated to continue pushing for excellence, even achieving so much? I am a very curious person, and I just want to know and want to see what happens. I am enjoying the game of chess a lot, especially the freestyle chess, and I am a person who accepts my drawbacks as a chess player, and I want to learn and improve. And that's what actually keeps me going. You have faced against some of the strongest players of your generation. Who has been the most difficult opponent for you, and why? The most difficult opponent for me, I had many difficult opponents, but definitely Magnus is one of the difficult opponents because he's a fierce opponent. He's not a person who is satisfied with having like an easy game. He wants to fight in every single game, and that has been educational and also very interesting. Another tough opponent for me has been traditionally Vladimir Kramnik because, well, it's just in the openings he was giving me nightmares. It was always difficult to play against him. Your matchups with Magnus Carlsen have been intense. What do you consider the biggest challenge when facing him? And how do you mentally prepare for such high-level encounters? I'm always excited to play against him. So even though, I haven't been too successful on facing him, but I've got some. I managed to win some games. I think our score in classical chess is, I think he won 18 and I won 8, or I don't know, something similar, yes. So it's pretty embarrassing, but I still want it because I enjoy challenge. The way I was preparing, I think intense battles require, when you feel your opponent is here to play very intensely and challenge you, you just need to kind of be relaxed and just get away from the emotional point of it. Because of course it's unpleasant. Throughout the years you're playing, everybody gives you respect, and here's a guy who wants to beat you. And if you let it go into your mind, it's going to be tough, to challenge it. So yeah, whenever I relaxed against Magnus, I think I played well.
Has this ever happened to you?
Oh, shoot. Another mouse slip.
What about this?
Oh, well, holy bishops en passant. I think I'm getting carpal tunnel. If only there was a way to play online chess with a real-life board.
What if I told you you can with Chess Up 2? That's right. With Chess Up 2, you can now play over the board online.
Wow.
Simply connect your chess.com account to our state-of-the-art Chess Up 2 and get a game started. Every time you move, our revolutionary board will transmit the data online directly to your opponent. And as soon as they move, squares will light up, signifying which piece is going where.
Well, shucks. This Hikaru guy seems pretty good.
With Chess Up 2, mouse slips and sore wrists are a thing of the past.
My carpal tunnel is gone. Well, this sure is fun. I'm playing online against my new friend Hikaru. Who needs a family? But I sure do miss clicking on a piece and seeing all of my available moves, like they have on chess.com.
Well, Danny, you're in luck. This feature is totally available on the Chess Up 2 as well.
Wow. Well, I'm convinced. But hey, what if I don't just want to play an opponent online? What if I want to use one of chess.com's other great tools?
I thought you'd never ask. With Chess Up 2, you can fully take advantage of the chess.com integration by playing bots, analyzing your offline games, and even using our optional AI assistants to visualize the quality of moves with color-coded hints.
Well, holy Chess Up, you did it. You made IRL chess cool again.
You got it, Danny.
And how do you know my name?
Play chess today on the board of tomorrow.
Welcome back everyone to our coverage of the FIDE World Cup. This is the semifinals, game 1, and the tension can be felt so much in that playing hall with only 4 players remaining at a tournament that started with over 200 of the world's best chess players. We have seen some interesting surprises in terms of the preparation today, David and Judith, and the players with the black pieces coming today to the game in a better, somewhat more analyzed, better prepared situation. How does that translate to your own experiences when your opponent comes better prepared with the black pieces, but you're the one with the white pieces, supposedly trying to play for a win? David, I'm going to start with you. Psychologically, how does that feel?
Yeah, it can be tough. I think it's a bit of a block. It's like, oh, I don't know how much to risk. Oh, how deeply do they know? Are they bluffing? Sometimes the opponent's just playing fast because they're confident, not necessarily because they actually kind of believe that they're playing the best moves. Yeah, often you just need to try and find a way to trick yourself out of that mindset that they know deeper than you, and just be confident in the fact that you've done nothing wrong with white. So you're unlikely to be worse. Maybe you're not better, but that's chess sometimes. And I think for Wei Yi, who's played this h4 move, who's now castled. He's been freestyling for a while. I don't think confidence is his problem, but for Yakubboev, I think it has affected him, and probably he's taken the kind of safest path, kind of low risk but also low reward, because his opponent was clearly the better prepared of the two. So I think it can kind of manifest in different ways, and I think for Nodebek it's going to manifest into White not getting any advantage. In Wei Yi, it's going to manifest into a proper fight. Who cares who's better? It's going to be an interesting game.
Proper fight indeed. Judith, what is your call on that? And then we can maybe come back to the Wei Yi Esipenko game in terms of the moves as well and what has happened.
Yeah, I think it's the psychological part is very interesting because I have the feeling that to play with White the first game in these matches, unless, of course, if any of the players would have great winning preparation with the White pieces, of course, it is something, wow, it's a great thing, and you take advantage with White and you want to win. But I think in these matches, all four players are really cool, great players, very practical players. I don't think any of the players are great, incredibly fantastic theoretician out of all. And anyway, these days, it's when we are saying theoretician, it also means that how flexible you are in switching openings, thinking about the psychology, what can surprise your opponent better, how you can imbalance your opponent better. And of course, the players have a great past in the last 2 weeks. For example, Wei played 20 games until today with all the different time controls. So I think also there's a psychological question to me for you, David and Anna. What do you think? Did both players, Wei and Yakubboev, did they sit down to the board with the White pieces that I want to win? Do they sit down that I don't know what I want? I'm playing with the White pieces, so I should show something. I can't go for a draw, right? So what is your take on that? How do you sit down playing with the White pieces? Is it an advantage or a disadvantage in game one?
David, I'm going to let you answer first. This is a difficult question, Judith.
It's tricky. I always preferred being black in game one. I think because I was really affected. I watch a lot of football, and back in the old days, they had the away goals rule. So in a 2-legged tie, you play one match at home, one away. And I was always told in football, it's better to be at home in the second game because you have your home fans, you have a bit of an advantage. Statistically, there's more chances. Then you know how hard to press, you know how kind of what result you need. And it's a bit similar with chess. It's like you can choose your opening depending on what result you need. With black, you just see how it goes. A draw is great. A win is even better, bonus. But a loss, it's not the end of the world because you get White next day. Whereas with White, if you don't put any pressure at all, you feel like, oh, I wasted things. Oh, I'm on the back foot now. But then again, like if you ask Magnus the question, I've noticed in knockouts over the years, especially rapid things, blitz, Armageddons, he's always choosing White first. He prefers to go White to take the lead and then have something to protect. So I think it depends on the mood and the kind of the disposition of a player, like how mentally confident they are. Maybe because I'm a bit more pragmatic, I prefer just holding with black and going with White in the second game with kind of knowing that a draw is still fine, tie breaks, it's okay. But yeah, it's a balancing act, and I think Wei Yi will just play the position. He's quite confident, quietly confident, whereas Yakubboev's never been in this type of situation before, and maybe that's influenced him a bit. Anna, your turn.
I would have said the same, that I would definitely prefer having the black pieces in a mini match in the first game. And then you know that if you have to go all in, at least it's easier to go all in with White. If you need to be in a must-win situation, it's better to have that situation with the White pieces. But in the World Cup, it really has felt like the color didn't matter as much. It's also just a very long event, fatigue, the nerves, the stakes. We have seen mistakes bigger than usual in Grandmaster games because of this brutal knockout format and how long the event is. The players have already been fighting for over 2.5 weeks, nearly 3 weeks by now. So a lot of factors to take into account. And when it comes to this game, if we look into the position as well, can we just rewind the last few moves where we left it, David, after h4 and Wei choosing to castle queenside? If we just quickly show how the game developed. And Judith, what are your thoughts on Wei's preference for castle queenside?
First of all, it's very interesting. Before the break, I think we were discussing a bit this evaluating the reasons and why, what was the purpose of playing h4 in the game. And it was kind of, I still have the feeling that it was a scare to Esipenko that h4, don't dare to castle short. And then he went knight d5, white goes long castle, bishop d7, king b1, and now black has to be thinking, where is his king going to be in safety? Because to go bishop e7, it's also something black does not want probably, because maybe white can go also c4, so short castle is not something that black should be aiming for. At the same time, going long castle, it's also tricky, because after that, at some point, either immediately knight d5, or taking on c5, though maybe not, taking on c5 not so good. Knight e5, f7 pawn can be a weakness after long castle, exactly. And also at some point c4 can be very powerful, pushing d5 knight away. And if knight e3, there is a good chance white wants to capture with the pawn, strengthen the d4 central pawn. It's a game, it's an interesting game. I think the maximum what Wei can think of, that I want to put pressure. I mean, to win the game, you don't really think about that. The maximum you can aim for out of the opening, I pose problems, I give question after question to my opponent, and I'm trying to put him in an uncomfortable situation. And of course, under pressure, under the semifinal pressure, and maybe the time question also can come up at some point. Some people, players can make more serious mistakes. But for now, there is a great tension, I think, because there are quite some debate in Esipenko's position, how to continue.
Yeah,
David, how do you see that situation that Judith has described? And what would be the candidate's move here for black when it comes to do you aim for that castling? How do you prepare for castling? And will black at some point take on e3 to get the pair of bishops? Is that something here that matters? Is that something that black wants? Or are you waiting for white to chase that knight away and force you to take the bishop?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, candidate moves, Judith mentioned a couple of them, castles, maybe bishop e7, probably taking on e3. Others would be slow. I would feel a bit odd about that with black. I think it's good news for Wei, by the way, that Esipenko has slowed down. I think that will give him a lot of confidence. He knows, okay, king b1 probably is the first new move that Esipenko hasn't seen before. King b1's a healthy one, doesn't spoil anything, so nice to get the opponent out of book. But yeah, for black, I'm very bishop biased, so I would probably take this bishop before it might run away to c1. But I don't know. Castling queenside, I would probably calculate castling queenside, knight e5. Do I have time to just like slowly play bishop e8 and then kick him away next move with f6? That type of thing. Would it help to insert knight takes e3 before doing that? I would try and work that out, but yeah, I don't know. It's not the type of position where anything screams out to be played, or it's clear exactly what to calculate first in what order. Probably the move you want is castles, but yeah, that's probably where I'd start. I don't say it with any confidence though. Esipenko.
Well, you know, I think the big question is for Esipenko, and I think this is why also Wei played this way, because as you said, there are so many different moves, and we can't reason it so clearly why one is better than the other, right? So you can sit there and think about this. Should I go castle, knight e5, bishop e8? Actually, bishop e8 is a very good move. I was underestimating that one. Or should I not castle, but I can go maybe cd4 even, because after bishop d4 I have knight f4, and maybe I should grab the white square bishop, and only after that the castle long. No, but the e5 square, it becomes very weak, so I don't go c takes d5. Oh, even this?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Just to show.
That would
Yeah.
be quite the pretty tactical pattern, and the knight cannot get out of the e2 square. White is going to win a piece.
One of the great reasons to play king b1, right? So knight e2 doesn't come with the check.
He saw it all. He's planned it all. No check. I still don't know what to do after bishop d6, but no, it can't be bad for white now.
Well, probably just queen e4.
Yeah. Yeah, looks good. Ooh, ugly.
But also sometimes, after h4, what can be unpleasant for black? Bishop takes f4, bishop f4, and knight g5.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, this type of thing. Especially if black's already castled.
But we see that king on b1 is extremely useful, right? Because of exchanging bishop f4 would be with the check. We've seen the other line with knight e2 would be with check. So the question is, Esipenko has a lot of questions to answer for himself. And to make a decision here, it's not that simple. I mean, even b5 is something that people may consider. Though then it's a real question where the king can castle. Then he has to be optimistic that eventually he will be castling short. But it looks too brave.
b5. Yeah, in a World Cup semi-final or candidates on the line, I don't know, b5 feels super risky if the black king...
Just
can't
saying
go
that
either side.
I'll never want to castle. My king is fine in the middle of the board. That would be quite the statement to push and not want to castle. Interesting, by the way, I quickly also have checked what the computer would want to do here with the black pieces. And the way the engine handles this would be to take on e3 first before that bishop goes away. And then the engine wants to push f6 to prevent all of the ideas that Judith mentioned with the knight jumps. So now black is ready to castle queenside.
Wow. That's classy.
f6. F6. F6.
Yeah.
David, what do you think about f6?
I mean, now Anna said it. And also the fact that I know it's the engine move, I love it. But I don't know. In hindsight, it's logical, but it's not an obvious one, and it's kind of breaking rules to push f6 when you haven't castled yet. And it does make a lot of sense though in hindsight. Like dominate the knight, one move away from very healthy two bishop position. What do you think, Judah?
Yeah, in hindsight, it makes sense, right? But it's like also this move order, because if you start with f6, then white can play bishop c4 and will take back on e3 with the queen. So it's key to take the bishop first and force white to have the pawn on the e file, and only then you can go for f6, because otherwise this is too weak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. If he plays it, that's fair play. Impressive. f6. I mean, I guess
I don't know if I've seen anything like that before, knight e3 and f6 idea in these structures.
In freestyle, it's quite common. A knight comes out, you dominate it by putting up one.
Yes, but in freestyle, you don't have these pieces where we are used to them. Rooks on in the corner, king on e8.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes already in move 2, you're trying to survive.
Yeah. I guess he could get there by kind of retroactively correcting, like doing it the other way around. Like we were talking about something like this, castles, knight e5, bishop e8, and next move he plays f6. So maybe he'll flip the move order, and then he'll be like,
yeah,
why
but I
allow
think
knight
a
e5
classical player, I don't know if you can come up with knight e3 and f6.
Yeah.
Can you visualize, think that Botvinnik would go knight e3 and f6?
He'd probably call people in for extra classes at his chess school for playing f6.
Or firing them and saying, you don't come to my school.
Yeah. What about if knight takes, queen takes? Is this something that could put Esipenko off taking immediately? But probably now he just castles. Oh, he's taking the bishop.
And knight e3 is on the board.
All right. Okay. Modern day chess influenced by the computer preparation and training with the computer. It might change the perspective of the players.
And I think maybe f6 makes sense for concrete reasons, actually. Like, if black castles now, can white win a pawn with knight g5? Is this... I know it's greedy.
But David, you like pawns. We all
you
know
know
that.
me, Judith.
We've
commentated together too many times for me to deny that.
And you're never hiding it. You always want
No.
to grab pawns.
I see a pawn, I take a pawn. At least I think about it deeply.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and it also makes it harder for black to push f6 if the knight is on g5, because e6 is always hanging too. So this could be something that Esipenko will definitely want to avoid. Knight to g5, you cannot really allow this.
Although, I don't know, taking allows c4, it feels a bit scary. Ooh.
And so what, c4, bishop e4?
Yeah, maybe it's not the end of the world. I was a bit scared of allowing
F6.
c3, but it's nothing.
f6. Ah, no, knight f8 is there.
Yeah. That's the only way I could get away with taking on h7. I can get back. Interesting position.
What do we think of the chances that he's gonna go f6? Like, so we know that the computer says f6 is the best way for black to continue because then castling is safe. What do you both think? And I'm gonna start with you, Judith. Of like, how likely is it that he's gonna play that way, and what would be how human this approach is? Now that we know that that's what the silicon friend of ours here would suggest.
Well, first of all, I think f6 would come to my mind by elimination, that I don't like other things, so I come with f6, which also means that I would be kind of feeling desperate that I have to go f6. And after that, maybe I will find out that actually it's a good move and I have a good position. But it would not come as naturally that, of course, I take knight e3, f e3, f6, I have a fantastic position, long castle, I develop with my bishop and everything is cool. This is my take regarding f6, because in this position, I think first you want to go long castle, but when we started to talk about long castle in the very beginning after h4, we talked about it, that knight can jump to e5. Also, we look now knight g5, that suddenly whenever the king is moving away, the f7 becomes very weak. Maybe it's only temporary, but still, it's a weakness. And of course, in these positions, you're not happy to see knight on e5, unless you see how you're going to be kicking it out. That's a great outpost for the knight. With f6, you have some mixed feelings. Visually, it does not look stable.
Yeah. I would say maybe slightly under 50% chance. I think castles looks fine. I do want to prevent knight e5 though, so maybe bishop d6 is another candidate move, although there knight g5 also makes a lot of sense. Oh, maybe there's just nothing else here. Black's never taking on d4 voluntarily, opens up the e-file.
David, I want to ask you something.
Okay.
What do you think intuition, is it more important or less important than, let's say, a decade ago? Also, Anna, I would ask you.
Yeah, I think...
How much intuition is taking part today's game, you think?
Oof.
You're always complaining, guys, when I ask you something.
Your questions are really difficult to answer, Judith. What's the meaning of life?
Ask me what color the sky is or something. I don't know.
It's a great question, though.
Yeah.
I feel like intuition, of course, matters a lot, but intuition of modern day chess has been hugely influenced by the computers and AI, because all the competitive chess players are learning a lot from how the computer would play certain positions and how the engine thinks. So it's kind of like the human intuition merged with computer thinking. It creates this hybrid of weird intuition. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I mean, just basing it on recent memory, for example, in this World Cup, I've seen quite, especially in the tiebreaks, I've seen a lot of mistakes because people didn't trust their intuition, because they were trying to be a bit too clever or overcalculate and then miss something at the end of a line. And I don't know, I haven't seen as many mistakes the other way around where, for example, they're just trusting their instincts and then they happen to miss a one mover or one move simple tactic. And then if we think about some of the younger generation, Gukesh, maybe Arjun is a bit of an exception, but Gukesh, I see him so many times. He'll play, for example, bishop d3 to c2 because in one tactical variation it works. And then he'll put it back on d3 3 moves later because another tactical variation it works. So I think the top players are less kind of fussy about just trusting their intuition. There's often a tactical basis behind every single move, especially in classical chess. I think in rapid and blitz, you have to give into your intuition as much as possible, but and be quite selective where you calculate. But yeah, it's a tricky balance, right? That's the eternal dilemma in chess. Like I see so many young players just calculate, and they forget sometimes to make, like, just improve the bishop, just improve the knight, and that's enough. And then they burn so much time on the clock. I've done it myself, but yeah, of course, I don't want to advise them just use intuition, just play in general principles, because then they'll blunder concrete lines. So it's tricky, Judith. How much do you think it's changed over the years?
Well, I think it's transformed immensely, because the issue is that, of course, all the players are preparing with engines. So there is no move that you say that it's impossible, right? I mean, we were discussing a bit about this when h4 happened. So there is no move. I mean, I'm looking f6, that we were talking about it quite a bit already. And you see the bar. So I'm pretty sure if in such a position f6, and I would say f6, and we see the bar on a6 level, right? It would fit very much our first impression. If I would play, say, f6 and say it's on the 6, we also say, well, the computer knows that it's f6. Well, okay, no surprise, because it looks good anyway. It looks a bad move anyway, right? So the bar is just proving that that our intuition is right. And now this engine says f6, and the bar is not jumping anywhere. And then suddenly we question ourselves and say, f6, we don't like it, but maybe it's good. And then suddenly we start calculating concrete things, and probably you are able to play f6 because there is nothing concrete. But intuitively, f6, for positional reasons, for the weakness of the squares around the king, it feels not right. Don't you think so?
It looks like he's fighting his own instincts. You can see it on the camera. He's like warring with himself internally. He's like, I want to play it, but I don't want to get told off or don't want to look silly.
No, at the same time, some people were simply not able to play a move of f6, even if it's good. I think a very classical player was not able to play f6. I mean, the guy like Barayev, I don't think he would consider f6. It's not even that you can play it or not. You're not even considering. It doesn't even come to your mind.
But even if you say, okay, I dominate the opponent's knight, now the opponent doesn't have any concrete follow-up. I don't know. It is positional in a way. It's like modern positional f6. Oh.
Do you think Wei sees f6, that gives the biggest problem against my plans?
And what will he do? Will he play like g4, g5, or what will he do?
He can also proceed with h5 and yeah, any of those pawn pushes on the king side he might consider, right? Because the black king is still in the middle of the board. Black will still need to spend a couple of moves on development. So yeah, why not use that time for white to do something?
Yeah, that's true. It could be a clash of like positional concepts. Like after f6, yes, the knight is controlled, but I like your suggestion there. h5, put a pawn on g4. Maybe like if black ever touches any pawn on the king side, then he'll leave some holes, some squares, and h7 will always be a bit of a annoyance. Yeah, there's definitely big drawbacks behind f6. Oh, I think he's going to castle. I've changed my mind. I think it's like 70% he castles.
And probably that's what he's trying to work out, because if you calculate castle queenside and if you make sure that knight g5 is not the end of the world, then that's the move he will want. That's the move that any player would want to make happen here. And he's just probably double, triple checking that he's not getting into trouble after knight to g5 or knight to e5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how many players would play f6 out of the top 20?
Question to our viewers as well. I think we could make this a debate. Is f6 here a move that many of the top players in the world would consider or not?
I think
how many of the 200 players who started out in this event would play f6?
You know what? I think Magnus would, just because he likes slightly unconventional moves and there's a clear point behind it. I think Gukesh would because of calculation. Or maybe he would because of calculation. If he finds nothing after castles queenside knight g5, he'll calculate. If white's just a pawn up, then he'll be like, I can't play it, so I have to play f6. I don't know. I think it might be quite split. It might be quite close. What are your instincts, Anna, out of the 200 in this tournament? Who would play?
I think the reasons for which you mentioned why Magnus would play it and why Gukesh would play it, it goes to show that you could reach this conclusion of having to push f6 in order to prepare castling from various different perspectives. And I think because of the computer heavily influencing the player's thinking and strategies and how do you approach chess, it's more likely nowadays 3 out of 206 according to our production. I think it's a bit higher than that. I think somewhat higher. Being the third player. Oh, is Esipenko going to be one of those?
F6.
He is. He has pushed f6. Okay.
We found one of the 3.
And I loved how he looked at Wei Yi as well. He played f6 and he kind of looked up, to check.
Did you see his look? Did you see his look? His look said that, did I surprise you now?
I do that too. Sometimes if my opponent looks at me like, they're kind of questioning whether their move was good, I frown at them. I'm like, ugh, what a move. Ugh. And then try to scare them, like, how could you commit such a positional atrocity?
What can we read on Wei Yi's face? I find it very hard to read his facial expressions because it's always the same, whether he's winning or losing, whether he's enjoying his position or he's in trouble. Wei Yi has got that trademark poker face.
He really does.
I don't think he was expecting it. I don't think you can believe it, that f6 can be... Because actually, after f6, if black develops, black can be better very easily. I mean, I can visualize, let's say, we castle with black, we put bishop on e7, and I can even think about playing bishop e8, bishop f7.
Let's put some moves on
doubling
the board.
the rooks.
Let's say around here. Let's say white, I don't know, does something.
Well, maybe against this kind, maybe I'm going to be too slow with that.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, maybe it's too slow here. But I know what you mean though, Judith. Like, if black gets a few moves, like if white just messes around, I kind of want to put a bishop on I don't know, g6, bishop g7, f5, e5. But too slow. How to be better with black. C7.
Actually, I like C3 idea to stabilize the center.
Yeah,
David
bishop
was
C3.
just trying to waste time, but even your moves that waste time, David, are too strong. Stop being too strong. This is annoying.
I can't help it, guys. I'm sorry.
This is not the way I will take the advantage with black if you make these moves.
sorry.
You
He's
just
a
make
weird-
some moves and numbers.
Yeah, I'm trying to be worse with white, but I don't really see how.
No success, David.
Okay, F6, just good move. Let's just say it's a good move.
Is
Top
it
engine
really
choice.
a good move? Just
It's not a bad
because
move.
the engine tells us it's good move and Esipenko played it? I mean, I would be very curious if someone really plays F6. Is he doing it or she's doing it from desperation or in belief?
To me, he seemed confident, and even that look up at your opponent's face, searching for their reaction, I think he looks confident and he feels like this is a good position for him. That's my take on that. David, what do you think?
Yeah, he's a very confident player, Esipenko. I've played him over the board, and like he'll always play the most ambitious moves. He'll always try and test his opponents, or like Judith said, he's probably playing F6 because he thinks he's got the bishop pair and some small imbalances. Long term, if everything else gets exchanged, he's got good chances. Yeah, I think he's not playing it out of desperation. I think there would have been other ways, maybe more desperate, that he could have avoided touching his pawns and weakening the light squares. I think he's maybe sensing that, okay, he's not worse, maybe he's not better, but he can prolong the game and he's up on time. It's not the worst position in the world for black. Yeah, Andre, it feels like as well this whole year, like every time I see him, he believes a bit more and a bit more that he can beat these top players. Same at the Esports World Cup, same at earlier in this event, Grand Swiss.
I have a question.
And it's good that they start believing it, by the way, because 3 of these players in the semifinals will also be in the candidates tournament, and they need to believe that they can be there and that they can win it to challenge Gukesh. Judith, let's go back to your question, because I didn't mean to stir away from the main
Maybe
topic of this position.
Not be happy again with my question.
Oh no!
Let's
no!
Let's
go to the next game.
Which side would you be taking, white or black? Because we talked about this F6, great move, cool. Esipenko knows what he's doing, he's happy. So now I'm posing you this question. Which side do you take, white or black? Which one you would be playing? It's not like you're just picking it. If you have to play with this position, I also have mine. We are 3, so it's going to be 2-1 at the end.
Okay, I think that's a good question. I would still pick white. I do love the pair of bishops, but I love space advantage too. And I feel like white is ahead in development. I feel like I could get something in quick with the h5 and expand further. And g4 just now by Wei Yi. So he is expanding on the king side with the g pawn now. He can still push h5, or he might want to push g5. But optically, it still looks better for white, I think. What's your call, David and Judith?
I'll let Judith have the deciding vote, because I'll say, although I quite like white's position here, I'm more used to having the black side, or at least kind of stylistically the black side. These days, the way I play chess is I try and take small advantages, and here, okay, white's pawn structure may be slightly better, but I really, really love the bishop pair, and a lot of my openings are geared towards getting the bishop pair. So I think the long-term potential, I'm more used to being on the side where, okay, long term I'm doing well. Short term I have some problems to solve and just need to survive and keep the game going. So I think I'm more used to black. So we've had one white, one black. Judith, break the tie.
Well, you made such a good, just kind of moves that I prefer white myself too. I would take white. So now again, the big question is like, what is this F6 and what black was doing, right? I mean, is he really under control and happy or not? And he's happy. He's playing fast. Long castle, or what is he going to do?
Yeah, he was reaching for the king. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
should have
not
known.
worried at all about the expansion of Wei Yi on the king's side, because it's true that nothing immediate is happening. Yes, white could push h5 or white could push g5, but black's position is so solid, white would not be threatening anything concrete as of now.
I think black's next move could be bishop c6, which is powerful. So that's why c3 kind of looks a very good move to me, because after bishop c6, e4 could be played.
Yeah, I should have known I'd be outvoted by the Hungarian school of chess.
Sorry, David. I didn't know this is
minority.
going to be the end of it when I asked the question.
But yeah,
I just thought it's interesting to talk about it, because it's one thing to evaluate and discuss the moves, and it's another story because it matters also depending on your style and your intuition. And also
G5,
that
okay.
what
Oh, wow. Wei Yi is going for it immediately. Is this something that's posing any immediate questions to black, or black can just continue with the moves that you both mentioned? Wei Yi wants to prove that white has something direct.
it definitely poses questions to us.
And it follows conventional wisdom. Normally against the bishop pair, you want to be quite quick. You want to accelerate things before the bishops get organized or before there's too many exchanges. So I can see he's a bit ahead in development. Like if white gets c3, maybe improves the rooks, then everything's already looking pretty organized. So why not go for it now? Why not? Maybe h5, h6 is the way to destabilize black. But
that's a good idea. That
bishop
looks
c6.
scary for black.
Yeah. Still need a few moves. So bishop c6, maybe c3. I don't know. Is this really anti-positional? Hold on. If I go, sorry, bishop c6 now. The bar rises. What's white playing? c3. I was going to suggest f5, but I realized your e4, Judith, is probably hitting me before I get organized with black.
Well, f5 also looks scary to give away the e5 square, right?
Yeah, I wanted one more move, bishop d6, or maybe g6, g7 ideas, but yeah, I think I'm just too slow, e4, or maybe just rook move.
And again, we see the power of king b1, that queen f4 is not a check.
And Esipenko plays king to b8 instead of placing the bishop on c6.
Because he wants to c8.
Yes, very logical indeed. I think, by the way, the computers was saying bishop to c6 wasn't that good for black because white could have continued with bishop to c4 to immediately point out that this pawn on e6 is a main target, so black would have to go back to d7 with the bishop.
And the power of king b8, just like king b1 from Judith now, like if white plays, I don't know, say, okay, c3 is actually quite useful, but c3, bishop c6, now bishop c4 probably doesn't make sense because of takes and, oh, I did it in the wrong order, but something like this.
Yeah, bishop takes c6 is no longer check. This is a very big difference.
These top players, they see these things, but also good wisdom to kind of put the king near the corner if you castle long.
But bishop on c8 is a very good square for the bishop, opening up the rook and also keeping the bishop on c8, defending the e6. So one day when c takes d4, e takes d4 happens, that pawn is not hanging.
I like it, Judith. You're speaking my language now. Put the bishops on the back rank. Trade everything off.
And then from the back, it's just making it powerful. And once when it comes out from there, right? That's going to be the killer one day.
E5, bishop
By the
E4.
way, while we are analyzing this game, there's also some developments in the other game in the semifinals. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because there's action, there's a lot of trades happening and lots of pieces hanging. We are heading toward a very simplified endgame. David, could we catch up with the current position and how did we end up in this situation where both the bishop on e3 and the knight on c6 are hanging?
Yeah, let's go back quickly. We left it after e5. We were saying that knight d7 was probably the most, one of the safest moves, defending the pawn here, also putting pressure on e5. We did see an exchange on c5 of a bunch of pieces. And in the break, our producer, Bick, was suggesting bishop e3. Fair play to him, because in a few moves that happened. Bishop to d2 first. Castles. Very ambitious. If black gets 2 moves, king b7, rook d5, it looks like full control. So rook c1, rook d5 anyway. And bishop e3 did happen. Takes, and I'm going to guess that he's taking the knight, not the bishop here. I'm not sure whether we need a vote, but taking with the pawn, probably the black king just moves and e5 will drop off eventually. So probably rook takes c6. What do we make of these developments? Getting the rook. And coming
C4.
back, probably.
C4.
Ah,
Why
c4.
not to C4?
C4, of course. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm a passive player. What do we think? Knight or bishop? Should we have a vote? Whose position would you take?
I would feel like if white can get now the king out of the rook's way, king e2, delayed pawn cloud, bringing the rook into the game, then maybe white still has some spark in the position, but it's... I say that with a slight question mark in my head. Like, is there really... I love that we can double the rooks, and I like that the rook could lift over to the king side as well through the 4th rank. So I feel like maybe there's something. At the same time, the e5 pawn is always an issue. You cannot maneuver your knight away. I would love to see that knight on e4 and d6, but I think that's a very far away dream at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a good question, which side to take. I like knights. I don't see the bishop being so crazily annoying for me from white side. Interesting that you wanted to bring back the rook to c2. Yeah, and I said, oh, let's go to c4. Because I think we need the rook on c2, but maybe the other one. To bring after bishop c5, king e2, to bring the rook to c1 and c2, and to be able somehow to move the knight. But for that, I have to go rook e4, the other rook, and then trying to go knight d2, knight c4, I would also consider. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I would play it with white. With my knight. I'm the knight person.
I also like the knight here and the knight maneuvers that Judith is suggesting. That would be very, very nice to get in. If white can get there, I think white would be slightly better for sure.
It's like, yeah, every player has a preference. It's like these star signs or something. There's kind of, no matter where in the year you're born, you have some tendencies. Like some players prefer knights and they have attacking tendencies. Players who prefer bishops.
But generally, I think it's pretty balanced. Because it's not so easy also in the final position where we left before. It's not so easy to bring my knight to c4. Seems like impossible actually there.
I saw the eval bar like go, well, not be happy when I suggested king b7 for some reason. Maybe king d7.
That looks so strange though, to step onto the file where we want the double rooks as black.
Yeah, maybe it's just
at the same time. After rook c4, you can go back bishop b6, and maybe you can exchange with rook c8.
Whoops.
Oops. Yeah, that's the difference, because with the king on b7, that bishop would be pinned after rook takes b4. That's a very good point, Judith.
Oh, wait. No. Maybe not rook a5.
It's interesting that Yakubboev is still thinking. So for Yakubboev, there's a big decision here, whether he wants to play an endgame where he's got a knight fighting against the bishop, or he can take the bishop on e3 and double his pawns. So f takes e3 is the other move that he's considering, and he's been spending a bit of time here already, 5 minutes, thinking which trade he prefers.
Wow. And this is something that harks back to Judith's impossible, difficult question earlier, like instinct versus calculation. I think instinct, I would just take this knight because I don't want to ruin my pawns.
Yeah.
But
But calculation, maybe FTX E3 is more accurate. Yeah, that's a very good point.
And after all, we were criticizing Bik playing Bishop E3, and look, Yakubboev is losing tempi. He didn't understand that he had to do it immediately. Maybe.
Wow.
He lost the tempi playing Bishop D2 first. No, but I would still take. On C6. I can't believe F takes E3. Okay, you have counterattack on F7. I understand, but please.
Yeah, we should investigate just to be thorough, I guess. And because he's clearly thinking about
let's see FE3.
Okay, king.
Now, king. If he cannot go to D7 now, I think, because E4 would be powerful. And then on D7, the king is in trouble.
Yeah, maybe.
Castle, F7 weakness, Rook D1. Wow. Now I vote for FE3.
Bik for the candidate.
Winning move. It looks amazing suddenly.
Black
so maybe
apart.
not king to D7. Maybe black needs to be solid and place the king on B7 instead. But it could be similar. That white's idea is to castle kingside and bring that rook into the game over the F5, threatening knight to G5. So this is very concrete, very different type of position.
Mm-hmm. And just to go back then, because this is quite relevant, like if after knight takes C5 earlier, white played bishop D2 and then only 2 moves later, bishop E3. What if white had played bishop E3 after all? And I'm not just doing this because
I'm hearing Bik laughing a lot about us now, I'm pretty sure.
Is he a genius? Maybe. Take.
Of course. I mean, why is our producer not competing at the World Cup? Like, seriously, we have some super grandmaster moves here played in the production team.
Oh wow. Maybe.
Because the king on E8 stands actually much better than on C8.
Mm-hmm. Maybe on E7?
Yeah, king E7, I think. And black is really controlling everything. Or not. Rook C1 and Rook C4 or something.
Yeah. It's crazy how we make natural moves and we still don't know.
And then the bar drops dramatically.
Up, down, up, down. It's a weird position. It's high risk though in a World Cup to like give yourself these e-pawns. Oof. He's debating it. He spent so much time, Yakubboev, in the last few moves, and if we go back to the live position, it's like a coin toss. Probably both are just totally fine. Probably both a draw is still the most likely result, but what is the upside? That is the question.
But it's interesting. When we started to analyze, we came to this position. We switched from the other one. It was exactly already this position, right? Bishop E3. The first intuitive decision and move which we started to look, it was Rook C6, right? And I think it was for all three of us. Anna, for you also, Rook C6 was first, right?
Definitely, yes. It looks a lot more human to take on his C6 and not double your pawns.
Yeah, this is how difficult chess is, right? With human, we have this, okay, intuitively you go Rook C6. So if it would be a blitz or a playoff, Rook C6 would have been played immediately already. But as the players have plenty of time, it's an end game. It's not even so complicated, seemingly. It says, okay, what about F3? This F7 pawn is interesting, right? And then he starts calculating because no matter how positional it is, it can only work based on concrete lines.
The headline. Yes, that is the main question in this moment for Yakubboev, if he's going to channel our producer's thought process. This is a tough decision, and he's so low on time in comparison to his opponent. Yes, still over half an hour, but this is already a 40-minute time advantage for Sindarov because of how slow Yakubboev has been playing the opening. And now, too, he's spending a lot of time, already 10 minutes, whether to take on C6 or take on E3. Big decision.
A big decision, indeed. And his body language, he's been wiping his eyes a bit. He looks a bit sleepy. Like, it's so opposite to Sindarov, who's like walking around a lot. Looks, whenever he sat at the board, he looks so confident. Sindarov. Yakubboev looks a bit more nervous somehow.
He takes
is.
F3, you think?
I think he wants to take on E3, but his it's just like we said with that F6 move earlier. It's like inside, it's something screaming at you saying, "Don't take a risk, don't take a chance. You'll look silly if this backfires."
So many thoughts must be rushing through his head. We're gonna leave it to this moment. We're gonna let him figure it out. We are going on a short break, and when we are back, I think it will be the moment of truth, whether Yakubboev takes on E3 or on C6, and there's so much tension and action in the other match as well of the semifinals. We will be back in just a moment to figure out which players will advance to the finals, who will qualify to the candidates tournament. There is so much at stake. See you in just a moment's time.
White to play and win.
Okay. So first I'm trying to figure out which piece should kind of deliver mate. Because for now I see the problem that if we try to go for mate directly, there's some king g6 options. But I have the feeling that we will see some, I don't know, f5, h5, both rooks on f5 and h5, and then some good move. Let's say some g4, knight, g7, and then there's no way to avoid mates.
Correct.
But
you're on to the solution.
But need to find the move order for this. So, I mean, first thing I thought about was knight e8, but then after g8, okay, I have knight g7, bishop f5 mate, so I guess we go king g6, I go f5, rook f5, h5, rook h5, need to be sure, and then knight g7, and then bishop f5 and g4.
So we start with h5. Yeah.
Here?
Yeah, king g6.
Yeah, okay, that's, sorry. Yeah, because f5, rook f5, h5, there's king h5. And then I cannot go knight g7 because of king g4, and bishop f5, there's g4. Okay. Yes.
Very good. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's very nice actually.
Amazing. Good job.
Well done.
I'm gonna guess real Gotham or AI Gotham. Here we go. Why on earth would you play that? I think that's AI.
It is.
All right.
1 for 1.
Yes, 1 for 1. That move makes no sense. That one's real. Makes no sense, has to be real. It's real.
Fake.
What?
It's AI.
Makes no sense? Was,
Yeah.
No chance. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. What? Oh my gosh. And he sacrifices the rook! That one was fake. That had to be AI.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the rook one didn't, it wasn't guttural enough. What the heck is this move? I feel like it was too high-pitched. Was that AI?
It was AI.
Oh my, it was like, I don't think I hit like a... Okay, there's one more. Let me tell you something right now. Building a chess website is not easy. Right, chess.com built their website for 17 years. Still being built. That had to be real. That one was like 10 seconds long. So I was like, okay. Oh, so there was 4 AI and 1 real one. And I went 3 out of 4 on the AI ones? Okay.
Can you recommend us a series or a movie that you love?
Yeah, Peaky Blinders series.
I like Mission Impossible.
One of my favorite movies, probably Inception. Probably everybody has already watched it, but if you haven't, you definitely have to.
Everyone should see Lord of the Rings at least once.
I had quite a fun watching Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I guess RRR for people, I think a lot of people are enjoying it.
Can you handle it? Where grandmasters don't just move pieces, they cast spells.
Oh boy, didn't see that one coming.
Victory doesn't come easy.
Wait, Queen
time.
Oh shoot, I just lost the piece. Yeah, but I got no mana.
This isn't your classic chessboard.
The thing about the imposter is that if you swap it like
It's not just a game, it's a battleground of minds.
Let's have some fun, you know? Let's have some fun.
When the greatest minds meet magic, anything can happen. On chess, cast that spell, play for free.
The crucible of competition. The eyes of the world. Goa, India, hosts the 2025 FIDE World Cup, where over 200 of the top chess players in the world face off in an 8-round knockout tournament.
This queen has nowhere to go. That is the end.
Excellence, perseverance, and stamina bring glory, national pride, and a spot at the illustrious candidates tournament. The globe's best chess players hope to add their name to the list of champions.
Ooh, he made a move in 1 second.
The 2025 FIDE World Cup. Let's get these games started.
Welcome back to the FIDE World Cup. This is the semi-finals. An event that started with over 200 participants is now onto this one single stage with 2 boards. Who will be the 3 players that qualify to the candidates tournament and who will miss out is one of the main questions of today. In the semi-finals, we have seen some really tense opening battles, but now some of that action is clarifying. David, Judith, should we head back to the clash between the 2 grandmasters from Uzbekistan, where we left off with this decisive moment, big decision, to whether take on e3 or on c6, when Yakubboev had the chance of choosing between, does he want to play a knight against bishop endgame, or will he keep just the 2 knights and the rooks on the board? He went for that. He went for doubling his pawns, isolated doubled pawns for white on the e-file, but it's very concrete. And he's got his rook on the semi-open f5 ready to attack with knight to g5, potentially the f7 pawn. What do we think of this, Judith, that he went for the more direct approach?
Well, first of all, it's interesting because as we discussed before the break, that rook c6 taking the knight was the more natural way continuation, the safer kind of continuation. At the same time, after f takes e3, as it happens so many times, after changing the pawn structure, there are completely different ideas arise in a position. But while you were saying the plans of knight g5, you're going to laugh at me because I'm going to say that what about f6? I made you smile.
Yes, you always do, Judy. f6 was an interesting move in the other game of the semifinals. Maybe it's the move of the day if it also happens here. f6. Yeah, why not? Now we know that usually it's good against the knight jump.
Oh, wow. And I'll just put this on the board because interesting mirror image. Like if we take in this game and the other game, we would both have e6, f6 pawns for black, and we both have an e3 pawn for white. That would be, the games will start to look a bit similar, just despite the fact there's queens and bishops on the other board. I'll pretend it's an endgame. That would be crazy. f6. I was thinking about h6, so I understand totally, Judith, where you're coming from. f6, at least you don't have to worry about the backward pawn anymore.
Yeah, if we bring back our two-board view, then we can see how in the other game it already has been the story, that pawn structure that David was showing us that could happen in the game between Yakubboev and Sindarov. If Black plays with pawn to f6, it could be a very similar situation, yes. Will we see f6, Judith? You suggested the move. Do you think it might be something that Sindarov is considering here?
Well, I said it in half joke way because I'm not sure it's the best move. Of course, h6 is a very sensible move because after f6, Black is getting weaknesses also, and at the same time, the e5 pawn right now, it seems more like a weakness than a trouble for Black, because it's also not so easy to play knight g5 because knight takes e5, so it's not necessarily a big thing for White. And that's why h6 is possible, but also maybe
he's
the rook
reaching toward the king side, Judith. He was about to push one of the pawns on the king side, I feel like, and then he changed his mind. He's double checking, triple checking. There's a lot at stake in the semifinals. Who will qualify to the candidates? If you win in the semifinals, you already are in the candidates tournament. So this is huge in both of the games, in both of the matches. That all it takes is to win this mini match and you have qualified to the candidates tournament.
Absolutely. And also we see a position which is roughly equal. And if you would ask me with which color it's more dangerous to play this position, I would say it's with White, because White has a riskier pawn structure. White is the one who ruined the pawn structure. White is the one who has to show what he has in mind. Because if Black can play h6 and play rook d8 to d7 from h8, then Black is just winning the pawn on e5 and wins the game. So White is the one who has to show, okay, why did I make this risky move after e3? So White has to be in time. He has to be sharp and fast. h6.
And that's exactly what Sindarov says. Yes, Judith, you have predicted all of this and the reasoning behind it, why Sindarov chose to push pawn to h6. And it is now over to Yakubboev to prove exactly what you have highlighted, that he needs to be very direct. He needs to go and find something right now, because otherwise on the long run, those pawns are very weak indeed, the doubled isolated pawns on the e-file. So what does White have to do? How can you create something immediate? Is it rook to c4, bring the rook over to the king side, or double rooks on the c-file to put pressure on the knight, to put pressure on the b4 pawn? Rook to c4 is played by Yakubboev.
This looks, I mean, it's calculation. We were talking again about that earlier versus intuition. Intuitively, nobody goes for this. As Judith said, it's such high risk. But calculation-wise, I think White is in time here. Rook c1 is an awkward threat. Maybe winning the b4 pawn if the Black knight moves. I don't think Black ever wants to step into a pin on c8, although maybe possible. And then rook f4, an idea, maybe in the air. But this is the one I'm worried about, what to do against rook fc1 next move. It's coming.
That is a big threat, yeah. And that means that Black would probably have to spend the moment to guard the b4 pawn, because you don't want to drop that pawn on b4 and the knight will be attacked.
a5? Or,
is it the only move?
Probably you could play rook d8 or something, or rook c8 maybe.
Rook d8 with the idea of rook c1, rook d1, exchanging rooks.
Yeah, that was my first instinct. Rook c1, rook d1.
Definitely a more active approach than pawn to a5, if Black can double the rooks and trade on the d file instead of defending.
But maybe there's knight d4. Is knight d4 a thing? Knight d4.
Oh.
Knight d5.
I mean, I don't know if it's a good exchange, but if Black takes here, take on b4. Black king is a bit awkward.
And what is this? It's kind of strange, the king, yeah? You go wherever and rook...
Rook c1, there's...
Yeah?
I don't know who's better.
Very messy, and we might be heading in that direction if Sindarov doubles his rooks on the d file. Can we also show your idea, David, that after knight d4, if black takes on d4, then the problem is likely that you can play... Oh, sorry, I thought you meant white playing... Yeah, after rook to d8, white playing knight to d4. Yes, and if black takes the knight, then you have rook takes f7, check, intermediate move before capturing the knight. And the b4 pawn is still hanging too.
Yeah. I'm not sure how black reacts to this.
King b6.
Ah, this one, yeah. Oh, we could see a race. We could see a big race.
Yeah. Takes, rook d4, takes, rook g7, rook d2, or check and rook d2. I wouldn't worry much about black, I think.
Yeah.
Seems I'm also pretty fast.
This would be incredible.
Interesting that after king b6, the other option for white is to take on b4 with a check, because knight b5 is met with pawn to a4. And black should still be okay, but for the time being, white is the one with the extra material.
Oh, that's true. It's 2 pawns. I thought it was just one.
Yeah, rook takes e5.
Yeah. Probably rook takes.
Takes, and rook d3.
Yeah.
Yes, black should be more than active to compensate.
Which one are you taking? This one?
That one. No, that one on b3.
Yeah. Wow.
This could be where the game is heading, or similar ideas where the game is heading, where black might be down a pawn but have enough activity to compensate. And in a rook endgame like this, I think Sindarov would be happy to have that a-pass pawn that David is drawing on the board. It is actually white who will have to find a way to stop that pawn before it's too late.
Yeah. Maybe this one. But yeah, it's one of those positions. This would be a logical, well, I'm not going to say end to the game, but a logical continuation for both sides. Rook d8, knight d4. And if a5, I just want to say rook c1. Can black play rook c8? Or was black obliged to take on e5?
Black is well, you're not scared?
I'm almost a bit scared, Judith. I live my life in a constant state of being a little bit scared. But I also want to be ambitious and win. Knight takes e5 probably would have been a draw.
You want to win already with black. Okay.
Knight d4, I can take it. Right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good trick.
Knight d2 check.
Knight d2 check. The downside is probably white just takes back and probably is fine.
But not more than fine.
Not more than fine, definitely.
Very tense for the situation being that white is the one that's posing these immediate questions to black because of the pressure on the b4 pawn, because of the pressure on the c6 knight. And Sindarov does have a lot of time on his side. He's got a very healthy time advantage, but he will, I think, invest some of the time advantage on this decision. And we could check in with the other board as well at the same time, by the way, because there's some progress in the game between Wei Yi and Andrei Esipenko in the semifinals. We see this rook to g8 as the last move of Esipenko, going to the open file with the rook, still leaving his bishops on the back rank. And it's very instructive how the bishops, being long-range pieces, can be very active, even if they are only standing on the original squares where they come from.
Yeah, I like it. Black's bishop on h6 might be quite strong later. The other bishop could be opened up by e5 at the right moment. What's white doing? I'm surprised he took on f6 so quickly.
I'm also surprised.
Yeah.
I'm also
We could
surprised
rewind
because
a little bit on the moment when he chose to take and why, where you decided to trade so soon on f6.
Yeah, I mean, we left it with castles queenside, and he played g5, king to b8. We left it here, so rook f1, bishop c8. Judith's prediction was right. Bishop c8, nice, neat move. And yeah, I would think that c3 is probably first, a better solution, but taking felt a bit premature, and now black gets access. I do wonder whether Wei Yi's caught in two minds. Like, is he going to start playing passively? Is he going to start playing just for equality? He's half an hour down on the clock. Or 25 minutes down on the clock. It's a tricky situation.
But you know, GF, I don't understand the sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like it's giving up the tension for no reason. Don't you feel that?
Yeah, unless he's scared of f5. But we said this earlier, right? f5, there's always e4 ideas. Maybe f5. e4, just g6.
You really?
I mean, it's the only explanation for him taking an f6, I think.
Well, I don't know if h5 is something to consider for white.
Yeah.
I would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, knight e5, knight h4.
At the same time, maybe he thought that after gf6 it's going to be a weakness on f6 and underestimated the rook g8 possibility, because when the pawn was on g7, of course the h7 would be hanging if anytime the rook is moving away.
Yeah.
But as you say, bishop h6 is also a new opportunity for black now after the pawn exchange.
And yes, it does feel like, I was just going to highlight the same, Judith, that it does feel like it was premature to take on f6, and it gives black extra options that you normally wouldn't want to give to your opponent if you can keep things flexible and it's in your hands when that trade happens, because it was never really on the cards for black to take on g5. I think we could show that pawn structure would have been really weak had black taken on g5. So strange decision by Wei Yi. It could also be because of the tension and the stakes. He's trying to clarify the position, but it was in his benefit to try to keep the structure the way it was and keep the tension on the king's side.
Mm-hmm.
I also, when I teach chess sometimes, I like to talk about this, that it's in chess, it's so interesting when you exchange a pawn, especially for weaker players. Sometimes it's not clear. You say, okay, you exchange a pawn, right? I get a pawn, you get a pawn. And to talk about the circumstances of the exchange. But for that, you need, of course, there are some simplification, right? When you make an exchange and you make your opponent's piece to develop, let's say, or in the center, you strengthen, like in the Rai Lopez, you don't take e5 to d4 because c takes d4 and you just strengthen the position. David, how much you could keep the tension? You like your person to keep the tension, or you give up the tension, or never thought about that?
Yeah, I think about it a lot. I think because for a long time it's been a big weakness that I try to release tension, maybe because I'm nervous, or maybe because I love endgames so much that I try to race towards them a bit more. But I think it differs. Like, if I'm confident, if I'm playing a lower rated player, I'm more happy to keep tension. If I'm happy to take a bit more risk, if a draw is good, or if it's a team tournament and I'm black, sometimes I'm a bit too trigger happy and happy to trade off those pieces. So in my mind, it's like safety, exchanges, less tension, they're all linked. But sometimes that isn't the case. Sometimes it's actually nice to just be living in the moment, not afraid, not kind of trading off some of your army, especially the bishops, unless you really need to.
Yeah, because it's interesting. We had a situation not quite like this pawn exchange, but when Esipenko decided to take knight e3, right? that was also kind of a moment where you can take it any time, but should I take it now? And pose the question to the opponent whether are you going to take f takes e3 or queen e3, because depending on which structure you keep, I'm going to play differently. Knight d2.
Yeah. So it seems like where he wants to pose immediate questions, and that's why he took on f6 to play now the knight maneuver, attacking the f6 pawn, threatening to play knight to e4. But it does take quite some time to do this, and if black pushes f5 to save the pawn, then you need to maneuver your knight back toward the squares where you're coming from. And the h4 pawn could be a target too. After f5, rook g4, bishop e7, those kind of moves will be in the air as well.
Oh yeah, Anna. That's very nasty from white side to see rook on g4 and bishop e7, f6.
Yeah, f5 looks like an automatic. Like bishop e7 would drop the h7 pawn, at least temporarily. Probably don't want to do that. So, although that's probably still fine as well. But f5 looks very nice.
Do you think he might have something very concrete that he wants to push e4, for instance? I haven't calculated anything, but is it something very concrete that he sees, or he thinks that if he achieves that black pushes f5, that will weaken squares for his knight, even if it feels slow? What do you think his thinking is like here, Judith, when you see that he went for this trade on f6? Was it a nervous decision, or do you think he still believes that this position has something for him from White's perspective?
I was wondering about this, whether it can be the tournament situation that he's so much straightforward, or is it his character that he's very much straightforward, that, okay, I go gf, rook f1, knight d2. It's like very straightforward thinking. But I see the dangers what White can deal with. Because for the moment, the position is still okay. But, I mean, after f5 and black becomes very active with his pieces, I mean, for now, he went back, right? I mean, if we see black's pieces, it's mostly on the 8th rank and queen on c7. But once it starts to build up and come out, those bishops, especially the back one for the moment, it can give a very difficult play for White in some situations. I mean, I wouldn't panic with White, but maybe I wouldn't like to play it anymore with White, as I wanted a few moves ago. I felt that it's easier to play it with White. Now, rook on g8, I don't like it from White's side.
Yeah, I'll just remind you both that I chose black. I chose the bishop.
Yeah, David. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you picked the right one after all.
But we didn't pick taking on f6. In our defense with Judith, I don't think we wanted to take that pawn on f6, okay? That was not on the cards.
But okay, David is right. He was on black side, and things are standing for you, David. But the game is long.
Yeah, long game.
The game is long. I just said I would switch sides now. It doesn't mean that we switch sides.
Yeah. Let's put this on the board. f5, I think we're all assuming is the move to defend the pawn, support rook g4, pawns on light squares because he has an unchallenged dark square bishop. Makes sense. So how does White react? e4, Anna mentioned, but yeah, maybe e4, maybe knight f3 also before e4.
Yeah, e4 does give up the d4 pawn, so it has to be very concrete if it works. I have not checked it if it works.
No, I think we are slow.
Take.
We are not prepared for e4.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it feels like the more the position opens up, the worse it gets. The better it is for the pair of bishops, of course. And it becomes very concrete with black having very active pieces. This knight on d2 is not the best of ours, and it wishes to be maneuvered to somewhere a lot more active. Yes, Esipenko is about to make a move. I think it won't be a surprise if he goes for pawn to f5, and that's what he did.
Yeah, going back to f3 is big tempo loss, although it does set up e4 next. Okay, he goes to b3. I was going to say he needs to defend d4. He wants to release the tension. Makes some sense.
But what is knight b3? What do you want? I'm not afraid of d takes c5.
Maybe e4 is the next move.
That's the plan.
And what happens if black just continues with rook to g4 and asks what do you do with the h-pawn?
Okay, save it, take a timeout to play h5 or e4? Nah, save it. You know me and pawns. Not only do I grab pawns, I save pawns, h5.
You're a rescuer.
Yeah. Okay, at least now e4
This is
maybe
still
black
very
takes.
tense. Yes, very tense situation. And the question would go back to black on, okay, now what do you have against e4?
I don't know, rook h4.
Yeah, because with black, I wouldn't like to give up the tension. C takes d4, e takes d4, and then there are a lot of weaknesses, and white starts coming back with his knight to d2 and f3. I mean, the e6 is quite uncomfortable for black, I think. And most likely will never be pushed to e5.
I'm surprised the engine still gives small advantage for black here, the eval bar, but that looks odd to take on d4.
Yeah, I think the only reason the computer wants to take on d4 is to be able to move the queen to the g file. Because if you don't take on d4, the pawn on c5 would be hanging. But if you do include this trade, which doesn't look natural and logical, but it does give that tempo to black to double on the g file, sometimes threatening with queen j5, sometimes rook g2. And this would look pretty nasty, the heavy pieces on the open file.
Yeah.
And come to bishop d6 controls some of the important black squares. The bishop on c8, that's the coolest piece.
Yeah.
No,
Just
defends
chilling.
everything.
Just chilling at home. Just
yeah.
Loving life. Nice and cozy. They say even the worst bishop is the best. Even the worst bishop is a good defender. That's what they say. Okay, knight b3. Yeah, rook g4 looks like a good place to start. Interesting. 25 minutes for Wei Yi. Do we think that's going to be an issue? They've only reached move 20, so 20 more moves to make in 25 minutes plus increment.
Yeah, there's the same time situation in both games, by the way. If we bring back our two-board view, Yakubboev and Wei Yi on almost identical times with the white pieces, and time advantage for Sindarov and Esipenko. We will check back with in the position after King F2 as well, between Yakubboev and Sindarov in just a second. But when it comes to the time management, opening preparation, who's gotten what they wanted, how do we see the matches so far as they evolve, without going into the details of the variations. But David, Judith, how do we see the semifinals so far, and Sindarov and Esipenko with their time advantage and preparations?
Well, I see, and I have the feeling that while Sindarov was playing very fast the opening, now he's dropping back. He does not have such a big time advantage, and I believe it's not going to make any relevance, the time aspect of this game. I would think that after having these two rooks on the c file, it's too much pressure pins for black. So I would even commit myself saying that probably it's going to be a balanced draw game. While in the other game, Wei Yi and Esipenko, that was more of action, even though we didn't see a lot of tactics and concrete things. But there were a lot of emotions going on in that game, I think, because while it started out with a solid French, black castled longside, which is not so common. It's much more often in this system that you see the king's side castle for black and being very solid, nothing really happens, and pretty much equally should draw. Now we are seeing a real fight definitely for 3 results. And there is a great chance for Esipenko that he can even take the lead in this match, I would say, because he has almost doubled the time on the clock. I have the feeling by his body language that he feels comfortable, he's secure, he feels confident in his position. He just played Rook G4 as well. So on that game, I feel much more openness for a decisive result today.
Mm-hmm. I agree with all of that. I think like Sindarov probably will try a little bit, but just because he has more time and he's got a better pawn structure. But I think that should be a draw. I think very, very high chances. And Wei Yi against Esipenko, I think there'll be some surprising stuff happen at some point, maybe in the time scramble, but definitely looks like that one should last the longer of the 2 semi-finals here. Anna, prediction time.
I agree with both of you. I mean, how could I not? How could I not agree with Judith? How could I not agree with David? But also what we see on the boards. If we go a bit deeper into that end game, let's check in with the Yakubboev Sindarov position after King to F2, and Sindarov is just about to make his move. This has been basically the line that you were analyzing earlier, with white doubling the rooks on the c5, creating a pin, but black is guarding the pawn on b4 and is about to play knight to e7 or knight to a7 to trade the rook on c8. Has that been the move? Have we caught up with the current position? Still no decision. I feel like every time he reaches for the piece, he's about to make a move, but then he changes his mind. Sindarov has done this in so many games at the World Cup, just trying to grab the piece and then back. What do we make of that, Judith, by the way? Have you seen many of your opponents doing that? Is it the nerves? Is it just like double, triple checking because it's such a tense situation, the knockout format? He's reaching for the piece and then he changes. Well, maybe it doesn't change his mind, but he does take more time before he actually touches the piece again.
Well, I would think it's nerves quite a bit, because it's like, I want to make the move, okay, but let's double check it still. Because after all, because young players tend to play very fast also. And actually we've seen him playing very fast, especially the first part of the game. And it's not only about your preparation, that how well you prepared, but it's also, it can be about you have a great self-confidence, or it can also be that you're nervous and you want to play fast because you're nervous. So it's you can have either or. But of course, youngsters, especially when they are fantastic players, great talent, they rely on their talent. I mean, I remember back in the late 80s when I met Anand, and he was like Speedy Gonzalez. He was just playing so fast. Like, he finished his games in 15 minutes. Can you imagine? With full of self-confidence, and just like it was annoying for him to think. He made his move. I remember, I think I've seen him, well, he played in the Olympiad in 88, but I don't remember him playing there. But later on he played, I've seen him in Vaikanze, and he was like playing in a group and finishing his clock time. It was maybe 20 minutes he was using. Of course, he made some mistakes, but not huge blunders or anything. And then later on, he calmed down a bit, and he used his time. But otherwise, some players are very, very fast. But of course, nobody was so fast ever since Vichy. I don't remember that much. Do you remember, David, on these times, or Anna?
Oh,
no, you're younger, yeah?
Anyone as fast as Vichy. Hard to be as fast as Vichy, the lightning kid, Anand.
Anna, you're not even born that time, yeah? You don't remember these things.
I was born in 90. Anand was playing in the British Championship around those times. I remember reading about that.
David, you were also born 90 something, or what?
90, exactly. 1990.
Oh my God, it's only me who remembers these things.
We would have studied. We would have studied those games and knowing, of course, the trademark speed of Vichy and Anand. But you, Judith, you witnessed it firsthand, playing against Vichy and feeling that speed.
I highlighted how old-timer I am, but I have the same feelings about Anand, seeing him like now you're talking about Sindarov having his hand and almost making a move and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was quite something.
It's the circle of life. We make all these. We all have our habits. We all make mistakes. We all have our our things, our special things that are individual to us. And probably if our games had been commentated on 20 years ago, people would have been like, "Oh, why is he rushing? Why is he fidgeting? Why is he doing this?
Why is David thinking so long?"
Exactly. Now I'm sitting here like, it's an obvious move. Why don't you play it? But I would have spent like double the amount of time that he's using. Cycle of life.
David is thinking and still thinking. He wants to get in time trouble.
Just take a draw. It's already moved 150. Come on.
Yeah. No lunch, no dinner for commentators.
Oh, dear.
So what do we think of his move, by the way, that he did end up going for Sindarov after reaching for the rook, then not, then reaching for the rook, and then ending up placing it on d8. What do we think of his position, and how ambitious do you think he might be? David, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I think Sindarov has got ideas of playing knight a7, maybe knight to b5 if white can't meet knight d7, knight a7 with knight d4. So yeah, I'm trying to think of candidate moves. Like e4 comes to mind on some concrete basis. I don't want the rook to come back to d5 and pick off a pawn when white's knight does go to d4. h4 is like a useful move, probably to stop g5, maybe to put the pawn on h5. Maybe rook c5, just consequence of black's rook moving. I think Yakubboev's got to be a bit nervous because of the clock situation. I know I'm a time travel addict too, but I don't really see how he's ever going to win this game. Whereas for black, I could definitely see like the knight getting into a7, b5, c3, or the e5 pawn dropping off. So I think he needs to build some kind of fortress. Like black's next move is probably to move the knight. So I think he should get ready for that and meet that with maybe a rook exchange, but then the knight on d4, pawn on e4, king on e3, and just say you'll never break through.
Would it be your approach as well, Judith? What do you think of the situation here, and how ambitious Sindarov might be in this endgame?
Well, first of all, I started out in the beginning to highlight the fact that Sindarov won most of his games in an endgame. In his first two matches, I think, he won with black pieces. And I'm pretty sure he has had and has and gained extra self-confidence in this event, that he's just ready to play drawish endgames. And rook d8 shows very much that, you know what, I'm just playing, looking around. But of course, he's ready to win if he gets the opportunity. He's ready to play on. Like you were mentioning, David, rook c5 kind of moves. But actually after rook c5, I think knight a7 anyway is very strong, as you mentioned, the idea. And if white goes knight d4, black can just simply capture on c5, king b6, pushing away the rook, and rook d5. Because now white rook went away from the f5, so there is no pressure and no danger on the f7 pawn for black. And this guy is sitting there, not like I just want to make a draw and why are we sitting here? This guy is sitting there like I'm waiting my little chance and I'm going to grab it. Even though just minutes ago I said that probably this game will be a draw. I remember that. But you never know how nervous Nodirbek is going to be in the next move. Because sometimes you have to make only moves or very good moves or only moves. Also, he will have to make a decision. I mean, we were talking when white played rook c4 quite some moves ago. And the white rook was on h1, then on f1. We were discussing that from c4, the rook can go on the fourth rank, which generally speaking, I like pretty much because it makes some weaknesses for black also. But it was not so easy to play while the black rook was still on d5 because the e5 was always hanging, right? So now black went back to d8, defending, protecting the c8 rook, so black can move away with the knight. So white should be doing something that then also white can go with the knight to d2 and e4, for example, if the e5 pawn is not attacked already anymore. So I think it's very much maneuvering. At the same time, it always becomes very concrete. Because if black knight would jump to b5 in the next move, black has a huge advantage already, right? Showing up on c3, attacking the a2 pawn, or it could be. Now I cannot go to rook g4 because knight d4 tactics.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. That would be embarrassing. Oops. Knight d4 check. Oh, not now. I found the only way to play. Found the only way to not make that work.
To show the trick and
let's go h5 or something, and then rook f4.
No, but also it maybe doesn't work.
Oh, no,
it also doesn't work. So I was wrong. In principle, I was right, but in practice, actually, because of the two rooks, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the case, why not to go rook f4?
Yeah, but he was reaching for his knight, Sindarov. Like, he was doing his usual thing, reach for a piece, then stop, then think. But knight a7, how does white react? Now, at least rook f4 has been stopped.
Yeah.
That is a great question. This is what also Judith was highlighting, how that is a maneuver that black wants to do, of course, get the knight to c3, win the a2 pawn. That would be a big advantage if black can get that. So is it time for white to also start the knight maneuver? And how dangerous is that if now that the e5 pawn is not under attack, white starts to maneuver towards the e4 square with knight d2, knight e4? Who is going to be happier with these knight maneuvers and the difference in the position?
Will we see knight c6? I'll probably actually trade rooks first. Oh, what? Trade rooks, knight takes. Wait. I was going to say knight
but
c6.
After knight c6, knight e4. No, not a draw. I'm sorry, my friend. No, knight e4, no draw. Rook c8, knight d6. Bye, David.
Whoops. I was too focused on my white game on day 2 of the semi-final.
Not so fast. If once my knight comes to e4,
that's clever.
Be scared.
Clever. Yeah, I was only looking at knight d4 to stop the black knight coming forward, but then I think black would be doing quite well, like rook takes rook and rook d5, and suddenly that's why I wanted the pawn on e4 to kind of stop this. Now knight back, knight b5, and black's in charge. But knight d2 is very clever.
Yeah.
And if I rook d5 again, I'm scared I'm blundering some tactics. Yeah, but rook d5.
Well, after rook d5, maybe takes and knight c4.
Mm-hmm.
What about that? I like my knight on c4, and I'm going to show up on the f5 with my rook.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Nodebex got some ideas.
If he reaches a position like that, I think he would start becoming ambitious. So it makes sense that Sindarov is reconsidering whether to retreat the knight or not, because if the c6 knight goes away, there's no longer pressure on the e5 pawn. So it's time for white to start that knight maneuver, and maybe white will be in a better position if black is not very accurate. So if not knight a7, what other options he might be considering here? Judith, what would be your thinking here for black? How to play?
Well, I can say f6.
Move of the day. In any position, if you can push your f1, do it.
I can't say that, but this insight, what we figured out, that if the black knight moves away, then the white knight frees and can move. This is, I think, a very important thing, and I can easily suspect that it was something Sindarov underestimated as well. Because for so long,
this king e2, right? Because it was necessary for white to play king e2, and now he's ready to play knight e2, but he can only play it if the black knight goes away. So it's prophylactic against black's knight maneuver.
But now it's very tricky because now black cannot decide that I go back to d5 just in case to tie down the white knight, because already the white rooks are doubled. So after rook d5, well, knight d4 is still not possible because my king is on e2. Definitely that in that case black would say that okay, I'm backing up, I went rook d8, I made a mistake, but I still want to tie your rook your knight down to f3.
That would be a potential repetition of the position if we see rook d5 and then white goes like, I want to play knight d4, but my king is in check after knight takes d4, so I go back to f2 with my king. The black rook could retreat, and we might see a threefold repetition. But at the same time, I'm not that certain that we are heading toward that. Does black or white decide to play differently if it comes to the opportunity of repeating or not?
I'm not even sure what white's next move, to be honest.
When in doubt, play
h4. We're learning from the other game, yeah? And we're implementing it in this one.
Yeah, learning from Alpha Zero. Maybe sometimes rook c5. I don't know how useful that is. King b6.
And then knight d2 already.
But yeah, my idea is to play knight d2. Although then knight takes e5 is still still possible.
Does it mean that then black should probably go back to d5 and then tell white to make progress if he can? Because it looks like right now white has a few ideas.
Yeah, it's not so easy. I totally underestimated knight d2, and I think Sindarov did as well. This whole idea.
Very unpleasant.
Yeah.
Especially that it's not a threat, right? Knight d2 you cannot play because the e5 is hanging.
Yeah.
Yes, but if white, as you both pointed out, if white gets a free hand here at playing also rook to c5 and then the knight maneuver, suddenly things could get very tricky for black.
What happens if black goes king b6? Then you can also go knight d2, right?
Yeah, king b6, knight d2.
Because of the pin on the c file, it's hard to just hold from black's perspective unless you go back to d5 with the rook, and it's a tough decision because he only has just moved the rook away from d5.
Yeah, I see that Sindarov is also realizing the challenges.
We could leave him to figure this out, and he might end up going back to d5 with the rook if he finds this too risky to continue with the idea of moving his knight away. Allowing white's knight maneuver might be too much to allow. And in the other game, we also have a knight jump where he has just taken on c5 with his knight. If we analyze the last couple of moves in that game, David, how black went after the h-pawn with the rook maneuver while white is trading on c5.
Yeah, we predicted most of this. We left it with f5. The white knight came over to b3. We said rook g4. That was played. White saved the pawn. The rook went behind, keeping an eye on it, but also hinting that it might come to h2. And this is where Wei Yi decided he wanted no more tension. And took on c5. Takes. And Esipenko's debating whether to take on c5 immediately. I don't immediately see any downside unless there's some tactics.
Again, giving up attention in the game.
Yeah. There we go.
Queen takes c5 is on the board indeed. And yes, this has been the story, Judith. You're right that Wei Yi already in a couple of moments where there was tension in the game, he decides to be the one that trades and tries to clarify the situation. But these trades don't feel like they help white's case. It was a central pawn that you are now trading for the c pawn, opens up the d file, brings black's queen to a more active square. The h5 pawn will still be a target, and it just looks like black's position is healthier and more balanced overall. White has a weakness on e3, white has a weakness on h5, And you don't really have a target from white's perspective that you can attack in black's camp.
It looks very dangerous. I would love to see if I would play with black, but David is doing that. He's on the black side. To put the queen on e5. We're starting to be jealous, David. Queen on e5, potential rook h2. h5 pawn is such a weakness that it's incredible. e3 is not less of a weakness. Also, rook h3 can be attacking the e3. Very difficult. The white bishop is completely blocked by black's pawns. e6, f5 is completely blocking its power. Very, very, very dangerous position for Valle. And also his time is much lower. So great chances for Esipenko, I think.
Yeah, agree. And I was trying to make some tactics work with like queen to f2 if black takes an h5 to try and trap that rook, but I couldn't make it work. Also, after queen to f2, there's always the h3 square for the black rook, if needed. How to hold?
This is looking very troublesome. The picture that you both painted with the position being slightly worse for white, big time advantage for Esipenko. And if he manages to win this game with the black pieces, he's going to take the lead in a match where the next game and the final game potentially is him with the white pieces, where all he needs is a draw.
We went a bit ahead.
Yeah, I like foreshadowing. Esipenko is in the finals. Hot take of the day. Of course, there's still a lot more chess to be played. But so far, I think Esipenko's chances are looking very promising.
Rook f4, I have the feeling that it was kind of the only move.
Yeah, that's very clever, actually. So now change of pawn structure, at least visually, looks like it favors white. Rook takes, and suddenly e-pawn is backwards. Suddenly it looks like white has got full control again.
Yeah.
And if not, then either queen e7, which looks awkward, or rook h3.
That's what I want to go, rook h3.
Yeah, at least white gets
rook h3 looks lovely to keep the rook on the board and attack e3, so it's a tempo.
Maybe rook d4 is the plan.
Yeah, but then black just moves, probably.
Yeah.
E5 in the air.
Okay, white should be moving away his bishop to c2. Then you go e5, right? No, e5 does not work, I think, because of rook d5, queen e3, rook e5.
Rook takes
well,
e3.
also I lose a pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also lose a pawn. Yeah.
Rook e3, you can go.
Yeah. This is the pawn you were talking about, but maybe black has more than that.
Yeah.
By the way, in the other game, Sindarov did end up going back to d5 with the rook, repeating the position if the white king goes back to f2. So question to Yakubboev if he wants to repeat the position.
He doesn't want to repeat the position. He wants to play h4 in his position. But maybe we will go back at some point.
Just show that.
Not a good sign for Sindarov. Also body language. No, that's... Well, I'm sure he's not happy he had to go back to d5.
Yeah, with our two-board view, I think now we can sit back and enjoy the tension that there is in the semifinals. Sindarov, who has had a very comfortable position, is now showing the first signs of nerves and repeating the rook move to not allow the knight maneuver of white after rook c5, knight d2, which looked promising for white. So he prevented that idea. What does that mean for white, David? Can white try different ideas, or is it just a standstill? They both have their own pros and cons in the position, and it's very even, the chances when it comes to these dynamic factors.
Yeah, I see the eval bar, which says level, so probably rook d5 was just a very good move. But yeah, almost superhuman kind of self-awareness to say, okay, I maybe made a mistake, chose the wrong square for my rook, didn't really have a plan, so I'm going to come back where I came from. I would love to push the h-pawn forward for Yakubboev. I'd love to I don't know, slowly improve things. But knight a7 is now perhaps on the cards, so I wouldn't be shocked if we did see some kind of repetition in the near future. I think just a great move by Sindarov and very accurate game so far. Judith, do you think we'll see any twists, any surprises? Yakubboev under 20 minutes now.
I'm sure he feels much better than a move ago or two. But you remember, FE3, that was a turning point from a psychological point of view. Because I don't think in evaluation it made a difference. F takes E3 or taking the knight on C6. But after F takes E3, it became unstable because it was very clear that white has weaknesses. At the same time, it was also very clear that white has counterplay and counter chances against the F7 pawn especially. And then it seems to me that Sindarov got a little bit more happy that, okay, now I get some chances. And then he went back rook d8 and dreamed already about simplifying the position, exchanging rooks, and optimize his knight position, visualizing it, dreaming to c3. And then suddenly after rook d8, he had to realize that I'm going there, he's going to d2 with the knight. So it's, I mean, I have the feeling that the position is going to be a draw. Still, I believe, but there were some emotional roller coaster moments for both players, maybe.
And this rook to d5, Sindarov spent 15 minutes on deciding to go back to where he came from.
It hurts. It hurts to go back where you came from.
You lost 2 moves and 15 minutes, plus the 8 minutes it took him to play rook d8, so he lost 23 minutes and 2 moves, but luckily he's so stable that his position's still equal.
And he still has much more time than that.
And still much more time.
Yeah, luckily he did have a lot more time, so at least
It's
that's
still
not
the
an issue. When we go back to our two-board view, we could also check if there's any progress in the other game. I think we still don't have a move by Esipenko. He's faced with this question, what to do with the h4 rook after Weiyi's rook to f4. Yakubboev was reaching for a piece, I thought, but he is also double, triple checking. There's so much at stake. 3 of these players will qualify to the candidates, 1 will miss out. And it's going to be very hard for the player that misses out on the qualification.
He's reaching for his h-pawn, it looks like Yakubboev. h4 looks like a very useful move. Probably just in chess in general, but especially in that position. Just getting a bit of space, clamping down, getting ready for a pawn race, maybe in a knight endgame. And we'll check back in on that one. Maybe we do go a bit deeper in the Weiyi game against Esipenko, just because, according to the eval bar, he does have an advantage, and it might be a narrow path now. We mentioned rook h3, which I think has to be the move. Keep the rooks on the board, not improve the white pawn structure. And rook d4, which has to be the move. Then now it's just a question of whether to run away or whether to... Maybe you could take. Maybe. But rook g8 feels right.
But you know what? What do you think about rook d5?
Oh, rook d5. And if I...
The bar is ruining my party, you know?
Ignore it. It's not a real friend.
No, that's for sure not. I had an idea I can go maybe e5, put extra pressure on e3, or even queen d6 maybe. I had my ideas too. With
Quite like it.
follow-up moves.
I quite like it. I can't make e4 work. I don't really see it working.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I really like Judith's idea. Of course, first of all, when Judith says something, I agree. I mean, who could not like Judith's ideas? And then you see this rook lift.
I'm saying it so convincingly. Yeah.
It's very convincing. I don't even care about the bar anymore because you convinced me that this is the best move in the position. Are we going to see this? It's actually happening so far, so good. The rook is on h3. The white rook made it to d4. Will we see Judith's idea with rook to d5? Will we see any other options for black, like rook to g8? Is black considering taking on d4 and then moving the queen? There's a couple of alternatives here.
I think rook g8 will be played. That's the most logical continuation after rook d4. And I don't see any drawback of rook g8. You know, it's very interesting that in such a position, you may think about it that what happens, who does it favor if we exchange a rook, pair of rooks? And at first
So
it
after
seems...
rook d4, if we just take a look at that variation, David, with rook d4.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if we just take off the two rooks off the board, then of course black is very happy. If we take rook takes d4 and e takes d4, there is a change of pawn structure. White is going to be having a relief, I think. And rook g8 is on the board, of course.
Yeah. Rook very, very logical. And yeah, rook takes d4 was interesting, but I guess...
e4! Finally on the board. But you see, Wei is always making actions. But I think in this position, he's doing it right, because he can't just sit and wait and allow black to go to queen e5 and put extra pressure on the pawn on e3. So I guess now it's an important thing. If f4, then e5 white plays, I guess.
This is definitely what he wants, f4. One more move and black is strategically winning, but yeah, e5 and rook e3 we just move somewhere, h2, f2. Probably f2. Take this one. Yeah, looks like white is surviving.
So after e4, black should keep the tension.
Okay, but how?
I have a question. What happens if queen e5, just a concrete idea I have, takes, queen e2 takes, and rook h2 or rook h2? Or white just goes bishop f3. I wanted to go rook g2, gg2.
Yeah.
But you just want to take my pawn.
Wanted to take him.
And king a1.
Yeah.
And then you're happy. Yeah,
oh.
okay, this is not exactly what I meant from black side.
Yeah, apparently there's something even stronger than fe, but rook d8 maybe. But...
Well, okay, this let's put that back, because this is not what we were aiming with black.
Yeah, but
e5 maybe. e5.
Ah, e5. That's clever. Oh, rook d8 there, maybe.
Rook d8.
Yeah. But even an endgame like this, like black's not risking anything at all, maybe some small pressure, but should be a draw, Judith.
But he should have something better than this.
Critical moment, 30 minutes.
Another question, what about queen c7?
Just to play rook h2, rook g2.
Yeah, that's, I'm maniac about that.
Now rook h2. Oh dear. Okay, now I'm scared.
I made you scared.
Yeah, it's what Anna said earlier when you suggest a move that confidently.
I know, like who cares about the bar? Why is it showing white advantage? I think I'm getting checkmated here on the second rank.
I get discouraged in a second with this bar. You see, again, I made some mistake. Maybe instead of rook g2, actually, I could take back. Yeah.
Take. Yeah, this is uncomfortable. Yeah. Bishop f1. Right. I guess there's a pawn hanging as well.
And you would grab it, yeah?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, in a heartbeat. How about rook c4? I have some sneaky ideas.
Queen g3, rook c8?
Yes. Oh, you got me.
You see, I joined you for a party to show rook c8 takes bishop c5. And after king b8, rook d8.
Boom. Deflection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
And what do you do on king c7? Rook c8?
Oh, rook c8. Yeah, probably.
Goodness me. that would be incredible to see, this deflection tactical pattern. I have a feeling the players might not be heading in this direction, but this is still very instructive and a checkmate in the middle of the board.
Yeah, fantasy. We can, like, once every hour, we're allowed a flight of fantasy where we find these weird variations. Maybe it crosses the players' minds as well. Queen c7.
So when it comes to Esipenko, he's got still quite a big time advantage. He has been the one with the initiative in this game and being very comfortable out of the opening and having a slightly better position. What is his thinking like, you think, in this moment, Judith, after e4? Your instinct is queen c7 or those kind of ideas, but other than the concrete variations, I'm curious, what do you think he might be feeling like when you see e4? Is this something that is a little bit worrisome if white has a way of simplifying and getting out of trouble? Or do you think he still is confident when you see him on camera here? Is this still something that you think he's happy with from Black's perspective?
Well, I think he was pretty happy for the last few moves because it was very clear that after GF exchange quite a few moves ago, maybe 5-6 moves ago, after that Black started to activate his pieces. Rook g8, rook g4, then that rook is already on h3. The other one was able to control the g file as well. There was a simplification between the one knight and the black bishop got simplified, and also the e3 pawn became very weak and vulnerable. So actually e4 probably was expected by Esipenko because white couldn't just sit and wait until black is collecting the pawns. So for white it was a must to play e4. But I think after you had such a great position, it's kind of annoying if you're realizing that you're only having the upper hand a little bit. And maybe it's not going to be enough to win this game. So in this game, if it's going to be a draw, of course, Esipenko would be the one who said, maybe I missed something. But for example, from this perspective, the computers can help the players these days. Because, for example, if let's say 20 years ago, if I would have such a position and it was a draw, I would have a feeling after the game that I could do something to press more. If you go up to the room and you check it with the engine and the engine proves it that actually you didn't have anything special, then you say, okay, this is what it is. I made a little bit my opponent's life difficult. I was the one who was pressing the game with the black pieces. I kind of little bit outplayed him out of the opening, better opening preparation, better middle game understanding when he played f6. And let's see, I play white in the next game. F takes e4.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going for the pawn. David, you already highlighted now with the 5th rank opening up for the queen. Next move can be queen takes h5 and black will be up a pawn.
I love it. I love it. This is why I said black all that while ago. I saw he'd be a pawn up in the future. But,
best practical move, I think, by Esipenko. Because if you have nothing concretely better, collect the pawn, even if it's not going to be enough. It's very, very unpleasant situation for Wei to have the white pieces in game 1 and struggle for the draw. Or he's playing for 2 results, I would say.
Definitely very unpleasant in a match situation like this. So it is going to be Wei Yi with 11 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, who has to defend a position with a pawn down after he'll take on e4 and his h5 pawn is being captured. What do we think of the situation if we just dive a bit deeper into that position, David? After the capture on e4, queen takes h5, how can white compensate for the pawn down?
Yeah, I think the first big question is which way to take, and also whether he wants the queens on or off Wei Yi. Normally, I think he's okay with the queens coming off as long as he gets some direct counterplay. Otherwise, it's a bit scary to allow black to be a pawn up still. I mean, I would be looking at, for example, bishop takes e4, queen takes h5, and now either something along the lines of taking and going rook to d8, going behind and round, or whether to kind of go active with the white queen. I just don't see it, though. I just don't see where like you can pick her up and put her to seek counterplay. So, for example, something like this, and rook to d8, and I would be trying to figure out whether this is enough. Eval Bar says no, so I would eat my words and have to go around. Probably black is just totally fine in a situation like this to just move the pawn to h6 and do it the long way. Again, the computer says no, but yeah, this is what I would probably start by looking at. If I'm not happy here, then I would look for more drastic ways. Maybe taking with the queen just to keep her on the board. Put a bishop on c4, trying to apply some pressure. Judith, though, do you see any more dynamic options here for white?
No, I don't know. Maybe I have a feeling that the h7 pawn might not get so much forward after grabbing that h pawn. But because white has activity, this is the only thing we have. So my pieces are pretty active, but I'm also thinking, what is the best form to give up the pawn, right?
Wait, could we? This is probably ridiculous, but queen takes.
Queen h5.
Oh, a bishop sacrifice? Is that working? We could check. I mean, it's not our pieces that we are sacrificing. Let's do it.
Can black go e5?
Yeah, I was scared of that, and I stopped my calculations. But how do I not lose on the spot? Oh dear. Yeah, I don't think I'd play this in a real game when it's not, when it is actually my pieces.
Why not? Easy move, rook d7.
Oh, I was only looking at rook d8.
Beautiful. The bishop cannot take the rook because of queen b7 checkmate. Oh, goodness me.
Maybe like queen g6.
This would be crazy if this is what Wei is calculating.
I was only looking at the draw after taking and check and check and check forever.
Very peaceful.
Queen g6, that could be a spoil sport, and then both the pieces will be hanging at the end. Oof. What's better than rook d7 then? This is a Wei Yi solution, maybe. Quite concrete. Is rook d8 totally ridiculous?
Maybe not.
According to the computer, rook d8 is the only move to hold.
Wow.
Yeah, I was scared of some checks from behind, but I think I'm running. Like take, check.
Checking c2.
And threatening queen takes b7 checkmates. Not a bad solution to being a pawn down, go for the attack, and create a situation where everything is concrete. He's about to take on e4 with the queen. So we might see this. We might see this potential bishop sacrifice on a6 by Wei Yi. But we're going to take a very short break so that when we are back, it's going to be decision time, and it's going to be a cliffhanger whether we are going to witness a crazy sacrifice on the queen side by Wei Yi to make it to at least a perpetual check or an attack, and also a very tense moment in the other game between the two Uzbek grandmasters. We will be back in a few minutes with all the action of the semifinals. Who will qualify to the finals? Who will qualify to the candidates tournament? We'll be back in just a moment.
I was born into a very special and unique family because my parents are teachers, and they had a belief that We are not going to be going to school, we are going to be homeschooled. And later on, they thought we are going to be specialized also, together with my sisters. I have 2 older sisters. Susan is 7 years older, Sophia is 1.5 years older than me. So they were playing chess, and by the time I got age 5, it was very natural for me to go in their footsteps and start to play chess as well. In my family, due to this very unique upbringing, being homeschooled and being together a lot, usually I had training sessions together with Sophia because we were close in age and I was catching up fast. Susan was very much advanced for quite a long time in her chess career. We also had some difficulties, challenges, because people were not very supportive necessarily on this way, the way my parents decided to raise us. Basically, we were good sisters. Of course, we had fights and arguments and everything, but we were extremely supportive when it came to chess. So you have to imagine it like a startup company, all for one, one for all attitude. So whenever any of my sister made a result, I remember when Sophia made Rome, for example, an amazing performance, we were cheering and we were so happy with Susan. Or when Susan made a great result, became the first grandmaster, it was amazing. So we were very, very much supporting each other, and we never had rivalry. Every day we were playing blitz, at least 10 or 20 or 30 games. That was an endless practice and fun and training as well. And at home, obviously, we were keeping score. Many times we had a small tournament ourselves, 3 of us, and let's say a 4th player coming over, and we played this mini tournament for 4 players, double round or 4 rounds to play against each other. So there we were very much fighting against each other. At the same time, when we went out of the apartment, then it was all for one. And also it was my mother's request that it's okay that you are fighting on the board with everybody, but don't hurt each other. So actually we were very peaceful with each other. No matter who was better or worse at a different stage of life, we were making draws.
I'm a grandmaster and I'm a retired IM. So I'm gonna actually use this board to have the advantage. If I'm touching a piece, it's gonna show me whether it's a good move, a bad move, or a decent move.
Okay.
What if I touch this? Oh, taking is not a good idea. So what's a good idea?
It's ridiculous.
That's it.
This is ridiculous.
I know it.
A lot of people fall for that.
I know you want to flag me, but I'm just like, I'm gonna go sometimes with my intuition, sometimes with the magic of this board.
I think we need to try to bring the pieces back.
No way, Aman! Take that!
There's just no way this works.
I calculated it till the end.
I mean, I have to, out of respect for the move.
I got it. It's not a good move to take it. Is it queen h6? It's queen h6 first. Of course I knew it.
What? I don't know how I stop this. I got nothing here. I can't even move. Anna.
Thank you, Aman.
Good game.
What do you mean, good game?
Good game.
It's the best game of my life.
You are actually now 1-0 against me lifetime.
Yes. Does that make me a grandmaster?
Welcome back to the broadcast of the FIDE World Cup. This is the semifinals and big decision in the game between Wei Yi and Andrei Esipenko. Will we see a bishop sacrifice by the Chinese grandmaster? He's currently down a pawn, but there's a very concrete way in which he might just be able to achieve a perpetual check, with bishop takes a6 being the best move in the position. David, you called it a piece sacrifice.
Wow, it might happen. I think he's looking in that direction on the camera, but the calculations involved are quite deep. He's only got 6 minutes left, and we're still only at move 27, so 13 moves to make before the time control. I think if he doesn't play bishop takes a6, it's also going to be tough to find moves, so he might have to find it. And it's definitely on his radar, otherwise he wouldn't have played queen takes e4 last move. I think it's just the courage needed. Judith, it works. According to the eval bar here, do you think he's going to play it?
It's a tough call, to be honest, because I mean, going down in time, it's problem. At the same time, if you want to qualify in such a situations, if that's the best move, you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what makes the difference between the outstanding players and top players and grandmasters. These moments. And calculation is a must. Of course, he has very short on time, but at the same time, if it works and he sees it, he has to do it. I think he will do it. What do you think? Quick, before he moves it.
I think so, yes.
I think he will. I think he's looking in that direction. I think he's about to reach that bishop and land it on a6. I want to see that bishop sacrifice. And I think that's where he is looking for sure.
David?
I think he's been looking at it, and he's just trying to pluck up the courage and double checking the analysis, making sure he's not blundering anything. It does look super scary, like e5, that variation we mentioned, the white king having to walk forward, but it all holds together since the white queen is so beautifully centralized. And yeah, I think he's set it up, and yeah, I think he's going to play it. I was trying to work out during the break whether rook takes h5, whether bishop takes a6 was still possible. I didn't really come to a conclusion. But here, I think it's more obvious while the black pieces are distracted. If he gives black a couple more moves, like black might force a queen exchange at the very minimum, the chance might disappear. He might just be a pawn down for the rest of the game, maybe in an endgame as well. So 4 minutes, big moment. This might just force a
Now
draw.
or never. Now or never, indeed, David. This is his chance to go for something very concrete, and he has played this game very straightforward and very concrete. He's always looking for something specific. So bishop takes a6. This is the most concrete. He's looking in that direction, but still undecided. 4 minutes and 14 seconds left for Wei Yi.
Oh.
Is he about to do it? Yes! Bishop takes! Bishop sacrifice on the board. The best move according to the computer.
And
but it took him few minutes until he was able to make the decision. Yes, I'm doing it.
And Esipenko's body language is interesting. He looked to the skies for a second. I'm not sure whether that was like, oh, whoops, I missed it, or whoops, I miscalculated something further down the line.
I think he blundered.
Yeah.
When he was going into it with f takes e4, I don't think he saw it.
Yeah, I'm not sure he saw it even when he took on h5. Maybe he did.
I think he started to see it while he went away for a walk, while Wei Yi made the decision.
Could be the case. David, can we show quickly why that bishop should not be taken? What's wrong with b takes a6 immediately?
Yeah, maybe there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the fact that it would lead to a forced draw. So if we bring up the board, we can show taking on a6. Oh, wait, it does lose on the spot. It's more than...
Checkmate! Checkmate with rook d6, rook sacrifice.
I'll pretend I saw this. I saw queen d4.
This was your idea, right, David? This was your idea the whole way.
So it was a draw. And I actually saw rook d7 in the other variation after rook takes h5, which is the worst bit. And
Oh, we do have a
talking of
hatching in the other game, by the way. That's a draw. It's official. We will take a look at that in a moment, but I think we do need to focus on the action that is still on the way between Wei Yi and Andrei Esipenko. The two grandmasters from Uzbekistan will be back tomorrow with colors reversed to fight it out for the qualification spot.
yeah, fair result. We'll do a quick recap of that game when we have a quieter moment. But going back to this board, I'll admit my mistake. I saw a forced draw, but it's much more. Black cannot take the bishop as this check. This one loses to simple check, and this is really nice. D, C, and B files covered by the white pieces. But yeah, king a7, this is beautiful. Deflection. And mate. So the bishop shouldn't be taken, cannot be taken. And we were looking at e5. Maybe this is where he miscalculated, when apparently rook to d8.
On the move, yeah?
Survive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't even see any way for him to play on without any risk now. He's going to play e5.
He's reaching for the e-pawn. Indeed, the pawn is pushed, so now there's a lot of threats. The bishop is still hanging, the rook is hanging, and bishop f5 is a major threat to win the white queen. But rook d8, as the blue arrow shows, is the only way for white to stay in the game and not be worse. Rook d8 to pin the bishop. Can we show one more time the other idea, rook to d7? Because that looks promising too. You cannot capture the rook because of the checkmate on b7. So it looks like white is winning. You are threatening rook takes b7, among other things. What was wrong with rook d7, David?
Yeah, Judith had spotted that queen g6 swaps off the queens by force. And when the dust settles, he plays rook to d8. Here we would have seen a double attack on... There we go. Of course he finds the best move.
Threatening queen takes b7 checkmate. That is the threat of white. Now that the bishop is pinned, queen takes b7 would be checkmate. Esipenko has to fight against this by at the least pinning that queen.
Get the queens off. That's right. Queen g6. You could also take the rooks off the board. I think that would be a forced draw in that variation as well, where white takes the bishop and ends up... also, black takes the bishop and white ends up giving perpetual check.
But now queen g6, bishop b7.
Actually,
right?
yeah, queen g6 doesn't work. He cannot play queen g6 that easily anymore. That's true.
Bishop b7, or is it something else?
Maybe just queen g6.
Yes, you can just trade and then play bishop b5. Bishop d7 is a huge threat, and rook takes c8, bishop d7 is the other big threat. In case of a move like king to c7, white can sacrifice the rook on c8, and bishop d7 picks up the rook.
But if now, yeah, if after rook d8, black grabs on d8 and then takes on a6.
Yeah, and I think that is a draw.
That's a draw, I think.
Yeah, after a check.
But maybe not. King c7 only.
King c7, yeah. Now white can give a couple of different checks.
Yeah, queen a5 or queen e7, yeah.
Yeah, probably they all lead towards a draw. Nothing more, nothing less.
Well, I'm sure Esipenko is now regretting not to play it differently, but e4 was an excellent move.
Yeah, great practical chance. Great calculation.
He played very well, Wei. I think. Rook f4, rook d4, e4. From that point on, he was very sharp.
You could say he found the right way to hold the draw.
Yeah.
Ye shall not pass.
So how dangerous this is for Esipenko? He has to force the lines that you mentioned with the perpetual check, isn't it? There is no other way he can continue the game.
Well, it seems so. Because if king c7, rook c8, that's a problem. If rook takes d8, rook takes d8.
Yeah,
on king c7?
Oh, king c7. You're forcing me to take here, I guess.
I guess so. But why is it so good for white? Queen c6. Maybe Queen c6 is the move.
Ooh, pretty.
King moves.
Queen d6.
King moves.
Queen e6. Or bishop b5.
Yeah, bishop b5 as well. Probably it's a draw in a lot of lines.
But I'm not
BC
sure
B5.
that instead of queen c6, you could go queen b7, because then I think I'm sneaking out.
Uh-huh. King takes, queen b7, king moves.
Or anyway.
How does white play for a win here?
Well, probably some check. Queen c8, queen c7, king f6, queen d6, and you cannot go to f5 because bishop c8.
Mm-hmm. Probably still a draw somehow, but
There is no good escape.
Feels unnecessary. I don't think Esipenko will take this risk.
Yeah, but he doesn't feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he is the one who is going to be pushing it with no risk, extra pawn.
Yeah, long game. Yeah, instead, might be over soon. Maybe you could take on d8 and play queen g6. What do we make of? Unless bishop b7 is.
He's about to trade the rook, so first step.
Bishop b7, you cannot go.
Bishop b.
No, queen g.
Queen g6. Bishop.
Queen g6, bishop b7, queen g1, okay. King c2, rook h2, and queen b6.
Yeah. Queen g6
and
probably.
He's reaching toward the king. He's about to play king to a7.
What?
Which, according to the computer, is also a good move for black.
Whoa.
What a move.
Oh, that's clever. That's so clever.
What a move.
And only move for white to stay in the game is queen to a4. It's the only move, otherwise he's lost.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That is genius from Esipenko. Did not see that one coming. Dodging all the checks. Bishop f5 in the air. For everyone at home, rook takes c8 would be a blunder. Queen d1 is mate, and queen a4.
He finds it. He finds the only move to stay in the game where he's so accurate.
Well, it's not by chance he's sitting there.
Yeah.
In the semifinals.
Now we know why
Fantastic.
He paused as well. Before bishop takes a6, he saw this. This is crazy.
And if black takes the bishop, the idea of white is to sacrifice the rook as well with rook d7 check, and that will lead to a perpetual.
And any checks on the diagonals will be blocked by white's bishop with a discovery against the black king. Rook h1 can be also met by, I want to say bishop f1. Yeah, and then it still goes on. It still continues, but...
No, but maybe bishop f1 is not good. King b8.
Yeah, king b8. That's why I paused. But king c2 looks so scary. Maybe it's fine.
King c2 after the check is the only move again that he needs to find.
That's crazy. This is wild. What a tactic.
Yeah, and apparently if the king makes it all the way to b3 after the checks, like rook h1 check, king c2, if rook h2 check, king b3, apparently white is winning already.
What? Wow. That's because after b takes a6, you no longer need to force a draw with rook to d7.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Queen c4 instead of taking the bishop
of course.
Is curtains, but goodness me, this variation and how far you need to calculate from both sides of this crazy, absolutely crazy middle game.
Wow. Queen c4.
What a game. Probably it will end up as a draw. At the same time, it's quite brilliant. Many of the moves.
Yeah, there's always so much beneath the surface. Some of the best games I've ever seen have been like crazy draws with all these resources. But this is This is wild. With the white king so open, all the checks are fine. They can be blocked. That's some, yeah, it's like a computer game where you have this shield that just blocks everything. It's the white bishop just jumping out the way to block all the checks.
It's a big question whether did Esipenko thought that after king a7, which is very easy to blunder, he's winning.
Yeah, he could have seen it all when he played queen takes h5, or even f takes e4 like 5 moves ago. He could have seen all of this, just missed queen a4, which is easy to do. Wow, Wei Yi, magician here to save the game.
And the bishop is about to be taken. I think we will see that beautiful rook sacrifice to force a draw. The black king will have nowhere to hide from the checks of the white queen.
This draw is going to feel like a win for Wei Yi. I know the scoreboard will be level, but he's going to feel so proud of the tactics he found.
Brilliant game.
I agree. It has been such a fascinating game to follow, and Esipenko had slight pressure from Black's perspective. This was a really successful opening choice, and now a draw. But what a draw! What a fighting game, and so many tactics. Judith, your thoughts on what we have just witnessed?
Well, it was a very interesting way to see how Wei played, because in the opening I felt that he somehow lost the thread and Esipenko took a little bit over. He had the upper hand, and when it had to be very concrete, very sharp, he was there. He was calculating all the way with low on time, and you could see by the speed he was playing his moves after bishop a6 that basically he calculated everything. He was under control in 100%.
David, same goes to you. We are still just also so impressed by that sequence of tactical moves and how Wei has calculated it all. He saw it all. Yeah,
and I mean, just the way they both play today, if they do end up making it to the candidates tournament, if they can bring anything like this, that would be, they put up a real fight. That was very impressive. Esipenko, I've got to say, super impressed by his opening choice, f6, which we were all unsure about, but I think equally surprised and impressed by. And then the way he took over the advantage, took the 2 bishops, won a pawn, couldn't get it over the line, but the fact that he saw king a7 and still tested Wei Yi to the bitter end, that was impressive. But yeah, of course, the white tactics there, just wowing us all. Yeah, that was, I think, one of the most fun draws I've seen throughout the whole World Cup so far. Very different from the other draw. The other one was much more quiet, but either way, that shapes up for a very exciting second day tomorrow.
Absolutely. And speaking of the other draw, we missed the end of that game. So if we could do a quick action replay, David, what happened in that end game between Yakubboev and Sindarov?
Yeah, so we left it just after the black rook came back to d5, admitting a mistake. It had been here earlier. h4 was played. Rook c7, very quiet move. And the whole idea was to put the rooks back on the 7th rank. This is great defense from Sindarov, realizing that after rook g4, he can play now not f6, but f5. Oh, wait, he did play f6, actually. And after a capture, rook c to c4, rook g7, and a draw was agreed. Yakubboev here only had 1 minute left to make 10 more moves for the time control. Maybe he would have played on otherwise, but ultimately it does look pretty balanced. And Judith, I guess a fair result in the end, despite a few interesting moments there.
Yes, we had some interesting moments. I think I would highlight this doubling the pawn and taking f takes e3, keeping the knights on the board. That gave a little confusion for Sindarov, I believe, because he got a little bit overexcited about his potential possibilities that maybe this game also it's him who is going to be pressing white. But Yakubboev was playing very well, and he grabbed his chances. And I felt that after f takes e3, maybe also before, but after f takes e3, I felt that he was he understood the position better, the small details of it, than Sindarov. And in this position, I agree with you that maybe he would have been playing on in this position with such a pawn structure. I mean, it's definitely not white who has to be begging for a draw, but even if they would play it out, probably it would end in a draw. But it's a fair result, I think, for game one.
Fair result, and that leaves us with 2 matches that are still a tie in the semifinals. Tomorrow the players will be back and play it out with colors reversed. Whoever wins makes it through to the finals, and in case of a draw, we're gonna see tiebreaks in rapid and potentially blitz as well. David, how do you see these matches so far, and who's got the psychological edge?
Well, I did predict 2 draws before today, but I thought they would be quite nervy, quite kind of uneventful draws, maybe an opening test, some theory, and if the opponent knows, then just a handshake. And I was wrong. I was wrong, at least in terms of the content. Really fun game between Wei Yi and Esipenko. The other one, I think just too close to call. I think Wei Yi took back some of the psychological disadvantage from having been on the back foot for most of that game, just by the way he held it. I think that one is very, very close to 50-50. I think probably a tiebreak. I think Sindarov maybe with a tiny edge, just because he has white tomorrow. But of course, yeah, 2 Uzbek players, 2 players banging form. Anything could happen.
Judith, would you assess it in the same way? And do you think we will see tiebreaks the day after tomorrow?
I have the feeling that we are going to be seeing a tie break, but I'm very curious how the player's mindset is for the next game. Because as we discussed it before, the psychology of playing with the white pieces and playing with white pieces in the second game, it gives a little special touch to these matches, especially in the semifinal. Sindarov's game match, they are friends, so I don't know how big fighting spirit they have or how much they want to go into the playoffs. But I have the feeling that Sindarov would be more happy when it gets the time is shorter time control, for example. But of course, he will have to make a decision with the white pieces, whether he's going straight for simplification and I want to go to playoff and let's have fun and let's see how the destiny decides and my luck. And with Wei, I'm very curious how Esipenko wants to be dealing tomorrow, how much he feels comfortable in a playoff, how much he wants to burn bridges. It's usually not the moment where you burn bridges. At the same time, I want to highlight again that whoever wins these matches, I can't say nobody cares, but out of these 4 players, I think this is not what they care. They care about the fact who is going to be in the top 3. This is the only thing matters, because that's the road to their dream to become a world champion, to the next step of that.
The qualification for the candidates tournament is indeed the big prize, and tomorrow we will be back at the same time, same place. Let's take a look at this beautiful map that shows how early or how late you need to be here if you want to catch the action live. Thank you so much, David and Judith, for accompanying me today, and to the end from the entire production team. Of course, we want to thank all our viewers for being here with us. Tomorrow, game 2 of the semifinals, and we will be back to cover all the action. Thank you so much again to all of you, and see you tomorrow again. Have a lovely day.
December, the world turns to Doha, Qatar for chess at its fastest and fiercest. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships bring the globe's elite to battle under lightning time controls. December 26th to December 30th, Rapid and Blitz formats designed to reward precision, courage, and creativity. In the heart of the Middle East, Doha offers more than a board, a world-class venue, a cultural backdrop, and a stage worthy of legends. With a €1 million prize fund on the line and the title of world champion at stake. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships, the ultimate test of fast chess.
Welcome to the FIDE Online Chess Museum. The International Chess Federation proudly presents the FIDE Chess Museum, an online space celebrating the rich history and evolution of chess. Explore exhibits that trace the game's fascinating journey. Discover the origins of chess, beginning in the distant past, and follow FIDE's centenary journey. Rare chess sets, unique books and memorabilia, autographs of chess legends, trophies of historical tournaments, and stories of the chess champions. Explore the game's legacy and future. Chess is more than a game. It's a global culture of strategy and unity. Join us to experience this unique online journey where history, culture, and passion for chess converge. And also on your phone.